Yo.
Hey, welcome to the new meta, episode 185,
Correct.
season 2, episode 2.
Correct. Season 2, episode 2. Wow.
Yeah, episode 2.
What's the seasonal theme this time? Woo.
Seasonal theme is I'm gonna be nice. I won't say that. I won't say what I was thinking.
Wow. Was it about me or was it about Blizzard?
No, it wasn't about you.
Okay.
It was. I'm gonna talk about it tonight.
Okay. Here we go.
Yeah. It was about something we might have done this weekend.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, it sounds like you have a lot to say about something.
Yeah. So what happened in the last I don't know, week?
Well,
Anything happened?
the beta for DIablo 4, it happened.
What? Oh, the indie game came out. Nice.
Yes. The thing that we've been talking about.
And
And
we jokingly said would come out in 2023 is actually coming out in 2023.
how many hours you reckon you put in this weekend?
I put in a lot, but I had stuff. Man, why does it always line up like that? Like I had my uncle surprise came into town, hadn't seen him in like a year.
It's your uncle. That's not even like a close relative. Fuck that guy. Play the game.
He is. He's the only relative I have on my mom's side still alive. So it's like he calls up and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna be at your brother's house. Come hang out." And I'm like, "Oh man, okay, yeah." So about that, and so but I went and hung out for a little bit. So that killed a lot of my Saturday day. But I made sure to go in the afternoon so I could still come back and jam that night. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would say 20, at least 20,
That's
maybe
good.
25 hours.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, because I mean, I Friday we streamed 14, and then Saturday I think I did another 10.
I mean, Friday I streamed 14, but I think I maybe played 5.
Oh yeah, true. So I know how long I waited in queue.
Yeah.
Do you? I actually kept track of my queue time.
Okay.
Do you know yours?
I remember the DCs.
Okay.
I got 10 disconnects.
I waited in queue to play the game for 5.5 hours total
Fuck.
on Friday. So I played a lot Friday. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I did play a lot, but I waited for 5.5 hours for queue. And you know what's really shitty is the very first time I tried to load up. Man, I don't think I hit. So it went live at like 11 Central Time, which is our time zone.
Yeah.
It went live at 11 Central, at 11 a.m. I hit play at probably 11:30. I had something going on at 11. I couldn't quite get in. At 11:30, I hit play. It was a 95-minute queue, I think, something of that effect. Which I think they got worse. But so I waited my 95 minutes. I went through the character creation screen, made my character, hit play, and it got some error code, which I had memorized for a while because it was the same one every time.
300.
Yeah, something ended in 17, I think.
Yep.
And so I got the error code, and I'm like, what the hell? So then I hit play again, create play, couldn't do anything. Backed out. I was like, okay, let me just Alt F4, and maybe it'll keep my place in line like, World of Warcraft does. And I hit Alt F4, and I instantly load it back up. 90-minute queue.
Yeah,
son of
that sucks.
So I wait another 90 minutes and I get in, and then like all the times I spammed enter world create character or whatever, it made
a character.
Stack of the same character.
Yep.
So I deleted a bunch of them, and anyway, I got in that time. I think I got maybe 30 or 40 minutes, and then I got disconnected and did the whole queue thing again. So, but it got cleaned up later in the evening. Saturday was chill. No queue at all Saturday. I don't know if you had any issues on Saturday, but single digit queues.
Yeah, single digits, yeah.
Yeah. So that was my queue experience. Do you think yours is worse? Did you have more than 5, you think? 5 or 5.5?
I mean, I had 10 DCs. I'd probably say the first 4 were at least like an hour.
Yeah.
And then like I don't know that I had any under 25 minutes. So
yeah, I don't think so either. I got DC'd a couple times late at night, like even at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And it was, I still think it was a 25, 30-minute queue.
Yeah. Yeah, I got actually right in. as soon as the beta launched, like I was immediate, like I didn't even have a queue, and I played for probably like 20 minutes before I even knew what the rest of the world was experiencing.
Before you knew the
like,
game.
and then I got DC'd, and then I was like, I couldn't even get back in the game, and then I opened up some streams, and I was like, oh,
I see.
like the world is on fire.
Yeah, I tried playing. So when I first tried playing, the first 2 times, I was grouping with a buddy, and we were in group, and all of a sudden it just said, "Oh, he left party," and he's like, "No, I didn't. I'm right here." But we couldn't see each other anymore. We got desynced or something. And I'm like, "Well, you're still in my party," and then we tried to invite each other, and that didn't work. And I'm like, "Man, okay. Let's go back to lobby and then just make a new game and see what happens." Don't ever do that. We went back to lobby, couldn't get, like, a character select screen, got the error code. So then I sat there for like 10, 15 minutes with the error code, just hoping it would like clear. They didn't want to wait in queue again. No,
Right.
It didn't work. So after doing that twice, I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to go solo. I think grouping makes it worse.
Probably.
You know, so we stopped grouping up. For the rest of Friday, I didn't group at all. Saturday I did, and it was fine. But Friday I was like, nope.
I actually didn't group
So
1 minute besides the world boss.
yeah. No. It made it easier. I don't. I'm assuming in a party there's mob scaling, but man, I didn't notice it. If it's there, I didn't really notice it. So yeah, I mean we were smashing stuff pretty hard. We grouped up Saturday. There was a boss you had to kill to get access to a dungeon. His name started with an M. Is all I can remember. I don't know. Maybe somebody in chat knows it, but it's like Monorock or something. I don't know. There was some guy we had to kill to get access to a dungeon. As melee, I killed him like probably before I was 25.
The stronghold boss. Yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah. He was probably, I don't know, man. I was probably like 21, 22 when I fought him.
Okay.
On my rogue. He was hard. Like I got close a couple times, but he was hard. I think I tried him like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And he was, as melee rogue, he was a little difficult. So if I would have maybe had the right legendaries and gone back, he would have been okay. So that was the first time I actually grouped. And I went back and did the same thing on sorcerer, and it was like cakewalk.
Sure.
It's so stupid. The balancing was so stupid. So
well, shall we kind of get into it before we start?
Yeah, let's talk about
getting into it, you know?
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's do the poll.
Yeah. So last week we asked, new meta podcast question of the week, what class are you starting beta weekend 1? And big turnout. But 39% of the vote said rogue, 29% of the vote said barbarian, 31% said sorcerer. So rogue coming in first.
Rogue coming in hot.
I think I'm curious, like if Blizzard would release statistics of like what actually was the majority of playtime, because I feel like a lot of people probably started rogue or barb and then switched to sorcerer.
Yeah,
by the end
they
of
actually had a poll. They put a poll out too on the Diablo Twitter. I don't remember how many votes it had, but Barb was their leading vote getter, which is funny because it was
before
last
it came out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Barb, like it was similar timing as ours, but it's just funny. I feel like ours probably has a little bit more focused audience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And versus that a more generalized, this looks like a fun game. Let's play it. You know?
Right.
So I think that's the only thing I can think to account the difference in the voting.
Yeah. So you started a rogue.
I started a rogue. You started a rogue.
Yes.
My initial plan. So I actually started all 3. I got the rogue to 25. I got the sorcerer to 25, and I got the barb to, I want to say 17ish, maybe. I'm not sure. In the teens. Man, I gotta say.
It was a different game for sure.
Barb was hot garbage.
Well, and
we'll get into it later.
Yeah.
I'm just saying my experience was not fun. So.
Okay.
But I have further insights on that later.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
Poll for this week is real simple, 50-50. New meta podcast question of the week. Which class in Diablo 4's open beta are you going to try first? Druid or Necromancer? There is a correct answer here.
We already know what's winning that.
There is a correct answer.
Yeah.
Can't imagine. Copy paste that. I don't have it open.
I think there's a lot of fans for both classes, to be honest.
Of course, yeah. I think that honestly, I kind of think Druid's going to win this.
You think so?
I do.
Maybe because it wasn't in D3. It's the new
if,
class.
If it doesn't, it's only because my probably like 80% of my following is probably Necros. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. To me, Necro has always been the lore that I like the most. I think a Dark Knight style, Nazgul kind of character would be my favorite. But if I had to pick number 2, it's probably Necro historically. And like every game I play, if there was a Necro option, I'm like, oop, doing that. So
yeah, I think we'll see after this week. Obviously, I'm gonna play all 5. I did not level Barb to max, but I leveled. I think this is 22. I think the 2 classes I was most excited about were Rogue and Necro, but with the data mine skill set, I'm thinking I'm actually looking forward to the Druid and the Necro the most now. I think honestly I would have been, and we'll get into this in a minute, but I think I would have been more excited for the Rogue had like this poison trap skill not existed, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the poll for this week. I want to quickly touch on some highlights here. One, I actually wanted to say before we actually deep dive into anything, is there is a new driver. If you have an NVIDIA graphics card for Diablo 4, guys, go get it. Stat. Diablo 4 is killing GPUs, specifically Gigabyte 3080 Ti's. Those are like crashing like crazy. And not even crashing, like it's destroying cards because it's like causing, I don't even know, like the memory to process further than the card can even handle or something like that. But there's a new driver out. NVIDIA knows what they're doing, so get it. Like absolutely get that thing before you play the game. Don't even risk any hardware, like especially GPUs. They're fucking expensive. So just wanted to give that quick PSA.
It's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny to see all the community outrage about this issue and blaming Blizzard and stuff. And it's like, ultimately, the root problem is the graphics card manufacturer and NVIDIA. I don't think this is necessarily a Blizzard issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to point the finger anywhere, but it's like, oof, it's brutal. Yeah.
New World did the same thing, if people remember, and that turned out being bad solder joints on the cards.
Oh, wow.
Like they had a bunch of cards that shipped out with bad solder joints, and it was like the magic concoction of
perfect
things
storm
that caused those solder, caused that to melt down. And it's like, was it New World's fault? Nope, but they got blamed for it.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I think it'll end up being the same thing here. Could it be Blizzard's problem? Maybe, but probably not. But either way though, save yourself. Like I don't have a 3080, but I'm still going to do it. I have a 3090, but I'm still going to upgrade. Like whatever the case is, do it. You know
I do have a 3080 Ti, and so when I first read that, I was like, oh my God, my card could crash. But I have a ROG, but still, it's scary.
Not like
I don't want to. I don't want to lose.
I had the same thing because with New World, it was 3090s, and so I thought the same thing. I had the same fear. I'm like, and it was specifically was EVGA for the Win 3 3090s, which is exactly what I have. And I'm like, ooh, all right, but I still played it anyways. I'm like, fuck it, they'll buy me.
How was your performance this weekend?
Amazing.
Really?
Absolutely flawless. Yeah. That's one of the things that I think we'll get into later, but I had it ran beautiful on my machine. But I have a nice machine. It should. If it doesn't, then they have problems. So
yeah, we'll talk about it. Also this 1 million puppies found a forever home. Oh, let me open this. Sorry. 1 million puppies found a forever home. So if you guys didn't know, if you can make it to level 20, is it level 20? I think you got
level 20. Yeah.
Puppies. So not only did 1 million people play, but 1 million people made it to level 20, which is pretty impressive for a closed beta.
Which means that almost 1 million people pre-ordered the game.
Or bought a double down.
There's some freebies, I don't think 1 million people bought a double down chicken sandwich or whatever that thing's called. But like it's a lot of pre-sales, man.
That is.
That's $70 million.
I wonder how many people
for base games
bought it in reaction to like, oh, my favorite streamers, or I know people are playing this game. I have FOMO. I'm just gonna report it.
I can tell you. So, at in my team, we have some gamers in my team. Not a lot, but there's a couple, and we have a little side chat where we talk about games and stuff. This is the first game that's actively been hyped up in my channel with zero input from me. Like they're like, "Yo, D4's coming out. This is awesome." And they're like, they were telling me like, "Oh man, you got to do this." Like telling me how to play Diablo because they don't know that.
Oh, are you talking about your WoW team?
No, I'm talking about my work team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, at work, my work team is like, "Yo, oh man, Diablo's great, man." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's cool. I've heard of Diablo." I don't say how much I've played, right?
Yeah.
And they're super hype on it, man. Like it's been days, and then some people are like, "Oh, this was so good," and other people are like, "This sucks," and it's the whole gamut of of emotions on this release. But I will tell you that all of them pre-ordered it to play the beta weekend. Wow. It was literally a thing, and several of them were like, "Yep, I wasn't sure, but I'm gonna buy it to get in the beta."
Yeah.
So
it's funny because my boss, he's very anti-Blizzard because of something that happened to him in Diablo 3, like the first couple weeks that it was out or something like that. I don't know. He like maybe lost his character, but he was like pissed. He was just like, "I'm never gonna play a Blizzard game again," and he stuck to that. He had not touched.
Oh wow.
And I was like, well, I mean, like, maybe give him a shot. Like next weekend's open beta, it's free. Like, what do you got to lose? So we'll see if he plays. But yeah, it is definitely going around the office, and I have to kind of like hold my tongue and be like, "Oh yeah, what's Diablo? I don't even know what that is."
It's kind of the same for me, where I'm in the same boat, where it's kind of like, yeah, no, man, what was it? Somebody was telling me about D3. Like I said something, and they're like, "Oh, in D3 it works like this," and I'm like, "Actually, it doesn't. But I'm not going to correct you." You know what I mean?
Just like fucking casual. What the fuck you talking about?
Who are you talking to right now?
Yeah.
So, pretty funny though.
That is funny.
But yeah, there's hype, man. I don't. All the ad marketing knows me and knows that I like video games, so it's on everything that for me. Anytime I open any website that has an ad, it's Diablo 4 ad. Reddit, Diablo 4 ad. I've even seen commercials on ESPN. Like I'm a big, I turn ESPN on every night before I go to bed and just catch up on the sports world. And every night, man, I've seen Diablo 4 commercials. So I'm just like, yep, they're spending some of that pre-order money on marketing for sure. So
I'm curious what the amount of puppies will be up to after next weekend. We'll see.
I don't know. They'll be
any guesses? Like 10 million?
10, yeah. Well, I guess you can earn it in the open beta too, right? So,
right, I think, yeah.
Ooh, 10 million?
Sheesh.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a lot, but this game is probably going to have more hype. This is probably the second biggest hyped game I can think of besides Cyberpunk. I think Cyberpunk was probably the biggest hyped game I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And for me personally, maybe it's just because I'm in this world, but man, everybody's talking about this. You have streamers on Twitch from every genre playing this shit. True. I mean, I've seen guys that I follow in the Destiny community. I've seen WoW streamers.
Right.
I've
Shroud,
seen, you got Shroud in there. You got Ko in there. Just any big streamer has touched this. And I don't know if it's just hype for their channel or if they're genuinely interested, but it's pretty crazy.
Someone in chat says they made 197 million in 3 days. Wonder if there's like...
Well, I mean, 70 million off pre-order. I don't know how they would have got that information.
Yeah.
But, if they made 70 million off the pre-orders.
Right. Next up, I want to touch on this because this has been a big question in my stream, especially over the weekend. But Rog Ferguson confirmed that drop rates are tuned higher in the beta to give a fuller experience of a test. So,
yeah, that makes sense. We talked about that too. I was like, yeah, of course it is.
I didn't know if it was or not, honestly. I had no idea.
I assumed. I was like, I hope it's a little high because they were dropping pretty gloriously. The Kadala gamble rate, whatever her name is.
Yeah, 1 in fucking 3, basically.
It's like, 1 in 3. Yeah, 1 in, almost.
I assumed that was tuned up, but I didn't know what to expect from just sheer drops.
The only thing that I'm curious about, I really do like the world boss being kind of a loot pinata.
Yeah.
I think it incentivizes that. I think you get 4 off the boss plus the cash, and the cash had 4 in it for me as well. So I got 8 total per kill. I killed him twice. I was only able to do it twice, but I killed him twice. I think somebody was saying something about it had a debuff or a lockout on them, so maybe they don't get their cash again the second time. But then we killed it and they got their box, from what I understand.
I didn't get a box any other time. So I killed it all 4 times. I only got the cash the first time.
I killed it on different characters, so maybe that's why. Maybe it's a per character lockout.
Yeah, I only killed on the road.
Yeah.
But that was interesting to hear, obviously.
Yeah.
And then coming into this coming weekend, Diablo tweeted out, as we prepare to open the gates of Sanctuary, we'd like to remind the players that Diablo 4 open beta test is to ensure smooth launch. We expect unprecedented traffic and queue times as a result. We appreciate your patience and understanding. So if we thought last weekend was bad.
Right. You're going to have a 6-hour queue to get in and get DC'd.
Yeah. I'm curious. Yeah. I'm hoping that, like, well, in light of this, since it's an open beta instead of a closed beta, this is like really where they're going to stress test all their hardware, and like hopefully we'll see the same amount of queue times, because like they've opened up so many more, threads and pools and all that network stuff.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I would assume that they obviously have to have designed this with scalability in mind.
Right.
It's obviously going to be running on some kind of cloud services, whether that's Amazon, Azure, whatever. But man, if they don't scale the bejesus out of this launch, then
turn up that slider, dude. Let's go.
Dude, like all the way. You better pull up a couple, 40,000 servers, whatever it takes. You know what I mean?
Seriously.
So yeah, I hope the queue times don't exceed last weekend. 90 minutes is a long time.
It is.
Especially when
you're disconnected.
Just a random DC puts you back in the queue. If they put some kind of wait system in, like, place in line system like World of Warcraft has, then I'm cool with that. That's fine. Then I can wait my hour or whatever. But there were also people that were like purposely not logging off, like when they had to go do stuff too. And I remember doing that in Classic. When Classic dropped, there were queue times. And it's like, I don't want to sit in queue. Like the WoW Classic queue times in vanilla when it first dropped were absolutely ludicrous. We're talking 4 or 5 hours. I mean, just super nutty.
Did you play Dragonflight?
Yes.
Okay. Well, how was that?
My server personally had no queues.
Okay.
Or if they did, I beat them at login and never experienced it again, because by the time I stopped, it was 24 hours later, right? I went pretty hard at the launch. I don't know if it was 24, but it was, a long session. So I personally didn't have them, but some of the high realm servers I think did. So the streamer, like Asmon's server and things like that are super but popular.
I'm pretty sure that was the last big Blizz release, right? And that went okay.
Yeah.
No downtime.
Yeah. I mean, the WoW launches always go good. Yeah. Like the WoW team's got it down. So I hope that they
communicate
with the Diablo team about how to do it. But again, I don't think the WoW team's ever going to have a launch that's going to hit this scale. I mean, as popular as WoW is, it's not going to touch this. This is going to have, 40, 50 million people trying to play on launch day. WoW's never had that.
Okay. Guess we'll see. I'm curious to see what happens, And then this little screenshot I just love. I just threw it in there. Someone posted this on Reddit. It is Diablo 4 screenshot, but it is of the Path of Exile map device. I thought that was interesting.
Oh, really? Is that a real screenshot or they faked it?
No, it's a real screenshot. I mean, it looks just like the Path of Exile map device.
I like how they have the left side UI. Did you try the left side UI?
Oh, I didn't actually.
Yeah, I tried it for a little bit. It was very interesting because it frees up the bottom of your screen to click and move, right? And I like that a lot.
Okay.
But at the same time, it was harder to see your cooldowns. So I ended up switching back, but I did play with it for like an hour or so just to see if I could get used to it and if I liked it.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's an option. If you guys didn't know, that's an actual legitimate Diablo 4 interface on PC. You can do it on PC.
Can you put it on the right?
I don't think so. I think it's just left or middle. So
weird. I wonder why that is.
Yeah, I guess you could invert it.
Oh,
right?
because the chat, I guess, is in the bottom right, which I think is weird. Why is the chat in the bottom right instead of the bottom left?
I don't know. All those streamers that are botting are going to have to move their picture to the other side of the screen now. That's what I thought instantly. I'm like, oh man, all these guys are going to have their chats exposed. It's so funny.
I guess we'll see bottom right cameras. I mean,
yeah,
I don't even
I'm
like
surprised.
my chat exposed. Like, I don't want people.
I don't either, but I don't. It's not like I'm hiding something.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
care that much. But
I just like to cover up a portion of the UI that is like just irrelevant to Twitch. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And chat.
I get it too. In case somebody whispers me something crazy, right?
Right.
I don't want to get in trouble for it.
Sure.
It's like, yo, I don't even know you. What are you talking about? So,
anyways, I thought that was funny. But getting into the nitty and gritty, I'll just try to pull up like maybe my stream while we talk about this. But yeah, let's talk about D4. What do you say?
Well, let's go. You kind of have listed out some things. You want to run down them and go through them in that order?
Why not? I mean, it might be I just kind of put that down so that
we don't forget something
aimlessly, right?
Yeah. We'll start with the experience when you first loaded in and you first started playing. Obviously, the intro was different from the 2019 BlizzCon that we played. Remember, we started off and we
where were we?
Crawled through a hole. I don't know, but we started off and we crawled through. We went into some hole and then we ended up in a dungeon, right?
Yeah.
And then you fought your way out of the dungeon, and then it kicked you into
an open. It wasn't marshy.
I guess it was the zone north of that, maybe. Whatever that zone is. Yeah. I'm not sure, but it was definitely a different intro, and story wise, like did you get into the story? Did you pay any attention to the story? Or
Zero.
You skip?
Literally zero. Yeah.
Skip.
I didn't even know. Like for one, while we're on the subject, I really wanted like an F key, like Lost Ark, to just be like, fuck this,
Yeah, you know what you can't do in this game? Hold on, this is the biggest gripe, and I'm dead serious. I really hope anybody that listens to this podcast gives feedback to please allow keybinds for scroll wheel up and scroll wheel down.
Is it not?
It is not bindable. And it doesn't make sense. So forever in Diablo 3, my scroll wheel up has always been my movement ability. Whether it's teleport, dashing, strike, the necro, whatever their teleport's called, it's always scroll wheel up.
Can't you just use like third-party software and make?
You could, but do I want to have to run third-party software every time I launch the game, and then I tab out to a website, and then now I can't scroll? And
it's not like it's like your driver software usually. You just rebind shit.
So Logitech doesn't. Razer does. I'm pretty sure allow you to bind everything. They're pretty cool. Logitech does not let you bind scroll wheel. You can do everything else, but scroll wheel, I haven't found a way to bind. So you'd have to use like auto hotkey or something else, right?
Yeah,
could you do it? Absolutely, you could do it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Yeah,
it's like why though? Yeah. Like, because if they don't on release, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Because in my brain has been playing 13 years of scroll wheel up to teleport, and it's like I can't, man. It caused me so much trouble during the beta. So anyways, I know there has to be somebody else out there besides me, but just give that feedback to Blizzard. The only reason I can think that they did that is because the mini map now, I don't know how many times you personally clicked the M to open the map and then right clicked to zoom out, and it didn't zoom out because that's the zoom out button on D3. It drops a pin now.
Gotcha.
So and then scroll wheel is your zoom out. So I don't know. It messed with me quite a bit.
Okay. But yeah, so UI, we got on a tangent there. So you were trying the lower right, and so what did you think about just the UI overall?
I'm pretty indifferent for the most part. I don't think it's great by any means. I don't think it's bad either, except with the skill page. They purposely, it opens in a half screen, which is kind of okay, I guess, if you want to keep seeing your character.
Yes, right.
Give us an option to open full screen every time, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So you open it full screen with the little button, and then once it's full screen, you can zoom out with scroll wheel a little bit.
Okay.
But it doesn't let you zoom out enough, and I think they purposely sized and placed it to make you have to scroll down more to make it look more impressive, like it's a bigger skill tree, like it's POE style.
Right.
And it's I think it's unnecessary. I think I talked about it many times on the stream, how you could just manipulate, slide this one over and up, slide that one over and up, and you could get the same skill tree in half the page, like half the amount of space, right? And so it's less scrolling. But
yeah,
I think the skill tree is designed poorly. I think that leads into the class abilities, which we'll get into.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's okay, man.
just UI.
Yeah, it's okay. UI is just okay.
Okay.
I don't think it was bad or good. How about you?
I thought it's pretty bad. I mean, again, I go into these things with just comparisons in mind, right? So I think Lost Ark's interface, especially for the skill bar, is just awesome. I think the skill bar in particular in Lost Ark is just really cool. Like every class has its own like special skill bar, and it's like things happen to it. There's, it's just like a cool thing.
Well, that leads to an ability discussion though, because every class in Lost Ark has a special.
Right.
And I don't know about you, but when I hit that special tier, I was expecting an extra keybind to pop up and be like, hit Z to use your special. And instead it was like, oh no, I have to put that on my bar and lose an ability.
Yeah, it's weird to call it an ultimate, but it's just a skill you put on your bar.
Yeah, it was super horrible.
I agree
design.
with that. Like, I think the majority of people, at least that I've talked to, and I'm sure you agree, but like, yeah, just like separate ultimates. Like ultimate should just be something you get like over time for doing like something.
You pick it. Like that's fine. If you want to have it in the skill tree, I'm fine with that. But when I pick it, make a Lost Ark style UI pop above my experience bar with the timer or the whatever activation requirements I need to get it filled up. And then make it your Z key, make it whatever bindable key I want, but don't take one of my skill slots.
Absolutely.
I think that's a huge miss.
Right.
A huge miss. But again, once we get into actual class mechanics, I'll rant for a while because they have a lot of those.
Other than the skill bar being disappointing to me.
So let me back up one to the UI. You like Lost Ark's UI, and I completely agree, by the way. I think Lost Ark's UI is fantastic for the most part. I think that they tried to go with the D2, D3 kind of hybrid blend of this old retro D2 look that is slightly modernized, and I'm like, you didn't nail it. But if they went with the Lost Ark style to you, would you want them to make it look more modern as well? Or are you okay with that old gothic looking art?
I don't like the gothic looking art. I don't think it looks good. It's like the World of Warcraft skill bar. Like I just don't like the one that's built in that no one uses, right?
I got replaced my WoW one instantly because it's so bad.
But it's that same like look and feel to me. And it also like the way it's laid out, the fact that it's like floating instead of...
It's wasted real estate.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I'm very real estate conscious personally. I want maximum real estate and want to move things around. Idea that I had was like, you know how they have the left option in the thing. I think they should give us skins for the UI as well, and not user made skins. I don't think that they should open the game up to modding like WoW does. But I think their team could come up with several different, like more modern designs and some classic retro designs. And let the player pick, like, okay, I want to use this skin and I want it positioned here. Like, I don't see the harm in something like that. So,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I like different UI options. It's one of my complaints with World of Warcraft. I actually don't like that in World of Warcraft that you can like customize your UI, because I think it takes away from a player's understanding of what's going on. So, like,
to watch a streamer perspective, I agree with that. If I go watch a World of Warcraft stream and they have a non-custom UI, then I'm like, I don't know where anything's at. I don't know what to look at to see what I'm supposed to see, right? Because they might have their targets in one place and I have them in another place, and abilities and things like that. I think if there were maybe 3 options, then that's fine. You would learn your 3 options, and they would all be very similar. It's just going to be graphically, maybe a different art style.
I think it should be like, maybe there's like, it's not so much that there's options, but there's things you can strip away, and like maybe that gives it a different vibe and look. But I would rather see it just be like one look and you're not picking between options. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm all for
I'm with you though.
UI.
It definitely didn't impress me. It
Yeah.
gets the job done, right? You have your health, you have your mana or resource, you have your abilities and your experience bar. What's the experience bar going to do when you go max level? You know,
Turn into Paragon.
Is it going to disappear? Is it going to turn in? Yeah, is it Paragon? But isn't there a max on Paragon too?
Yeah.
So then what? Is it just going to stay blue, lit up blue the whole time? I don't know.
Yeah. Can't you like set what the focus is on World of Warcraft? Is that a thing? Like
you can change your experience bar to a reputation if you want or something else.
Maybe that. I don't know.
Maybe that. Yeah.
But yeah, so there was the UI, skill UI. Again, you know, I use a lot of Lost Heart comparisons, but it should have been like that to me. But the second thing that just drove me absolutely nuts was tab would open like a proper map instead of just like a UI you can see through and like still play the fucking game. Like I hated that.
Yeah, you had to back out of a couple menus if you hit the wrong key too, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you hit map, then you can close the map instantly or something. But I don't know. I just remember like the A key, the S key, and the D key all open different interface things. And randomly every now and then I'd hit the A key, probably because I've been playing too much WoW and I would try to like move with it. And then it's like, okay, I'd hit that, and then to close it, I had to like mash escape or just try to get it closed. I'm probably going to end up rebinding all of those so I don't accidentally press them because I don't need them opened all that much.
So yeah, I didn't like that a little bit at all. And there's one other thing that just drove me nuts. Oh yeah, and like how you'd have to, but this is just a bug. But when you have to like reopen the map just to like port or whatever, because it wouldn't let you click the portal the first time you open the map. That just drove me nuts.
I didn't know if I figured out that bug. I've had it where I couldn't portal before, and then I had to like spam click it a billion times to get it to work. So whatever that bug was, it was probably similar or related. So I had this weird thing. Did you experience any of this where it was double casting my ability sometimes?
I think that was a pretty unique thing to Sorcerer. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. No, it was doing it to me on Rogue as well. So like I would cast trying to think of what ability it did it the most on. There was when I was playing the ranged Rogue variant, they had the I don't know what the ability was called, like a knockback shot, and you'd jump back a little bit when you shoot. It would do that twice. I think I had charges on that. Yeah, caltrops. Yeah, it would throw both my caltrops. I pressed the button once and it would throw, not all the time though. It wasn't consistent, but there were times where I'm like, man, I know I hit that button one time and it was like, boom, boom. And it even like had it queued up because there's like a little delay before you can put a new command in. So, and then Sorcerer had that as much too. It was like teleport twice or throw something else down twice.
I never got that.
Yeah, a lot of people on my stream said they weren't having the issue too, but it was definitely affecting me.
The only time I felt something that wasn't like, wow, that wasn't reactive was casting Hydra. Because like you would like, I don't know, the animation didn't really line up with the Hydra coming out.
Yeah.
So that was the only thing that didn't feel responsive to me. But everything else, I didn't have like double casting issues.
Yeah, I'd be interested, you guys that are watching live, to throw in comments if you had it, or if you're throwing in comments of the video. People. Because everybody in my stream was like, no, I never had that. And it was like, consistent enough for me that it was like, this sucks, like this is a thing, you know. So I don't know, I wonder if it's a hardware thing or maybe it's a frame rate thing. So speaking, we were talking about performance, let's talk about that real fast. So my machine's decent. It's, you know, it's a pretty nice rig. It's a couple years old now, but I have a 3090. I have a 8700K overclocked like a madman. It's all water cooled. Like,
what's the core count on 8700? I forget.
8 maybe.
8. Okay.
6, 8. I don't know. But it's 32 gigs of memory. Everything's running on RAID 980 SSDs. I mean, it's, you know, it's fast. It's a pretty adequate computer. I was getting in the high 200 FPS on max settings, sometimes even in 300 frames.
Are you 1440p gamer or
1440p? And I have a 360 hertz monitor, so I can see all those frames when they're actually hitting up the eye. It got as low as the low 100s, I think, and maybe even 4-player when we were like, you know, all of us, or the world boss, for example, when we were all banging the world boss. It'd be interesting to see my frame count on that, go back, because I have a frame counter on my stream in the top left that everybody can see. When I stream, I have to cap it at 144 because my capture card freaks out if I don't. So I cap it at 144 for my capture. I had the 144 the entire time. It never dipped below that for even hardly a second, except for the world boss. Maybe I'm curious to check the world boss and see if it dipped down then. So to me personally, the game was itemized super well. Solo running dungeons and stuff, I was well in the mid 200 FPS at everything maxed out.
Yeah.
So very, very happy. Now I have 24 gigs of video memory on my graphics card. I heard that this thing I heard there was a memory leak, or it was eating up graphic memory card really badly. So maybe that's why my performance was so good versus some people that have maybe a 6, 8, or 10 gig card, right?
Yeah, I'm actually curious.
So tell me about your experience. I think the 3080 Ti is 12 gigs, if I remember correctly.
Ti ROG Strix is 12, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was silky smooth outside of like when I would zone. When I would zone, there'd be so much lag.
For how long?
Like 5 to 10 seconds.
I mean, I maybe got a little lag on a zone for a couple seconds too, but I mean seconds. It was nothing to complain about in my opinion. It's like, oh, you switch zones, 3 seconds of lag. Okay,
yeah,
it's fine. It's loading assets, whatever. And that could be part of the M.2s that I have, that are running in a RAID 0. It's pretty nutty fast. So maybe that's part of the reason. Again, to me, I was extremely surprised. In the last couple years, I can't even tell you how many games have been released unoptimized and just run like ass. And it's like my machine should play most any game at a very high frame rate. And when I get a game that comes out and I'm playing at 60 frames, I'm like, are you kidding me? A 3090 running at 60 frames? Like, this is unrealistic hardware for your average consumer. You know what I mean? Like, what are they optimizing for?
Sure.
So I was really impressed, man. I was like, good job. The engineering team, I felt optimized the game extremely well. So
we do have different hardware. So I'm a 3080 Ti. I still stand by the 10. So I'm a 1080p gamer, mostly because of streaming, but also because of monitor size. Ironically enough, I don't like monitors over 24 inches. But yeah, so I stand by the whole, I don't think most games can really optimize with 4 cores. I still stand by that. So mine's kind of just optimized for 1080p gaming, and the only time I got any kind of lag was just at the zoning. It was pretty clean outside of that, but it definitely drove me kind of nuts that like when I would zone, especially in the open world, it was like for like 3 to 10 seconds. I might have got that for 3 seconds maybe, but I can't remember getting it for 10. I was never at a point. I did have some major lag spikes that would hit every now and then. Like maybe I would say in my entire weekend of play session, maybe 4 or 5 times, where it was like, oh, I'm getting disconnected. And you start to freak out because then you're going to go back to queue, and so you don't close, like you wait. And I'd wait my 30 seconds, and then the game would unfreeze, and I'd be like, oh, thank you, I'm still alive. Let's go. So. Yeah. So UI performance. Let's get into one of the more controversial subjects, itemization.
Yeah.
Lay it on me.
What itemization? I personally, I had this conversation with a buddy afterwards, and how much attention did you actually pay to the itemization? Did you look at an item and go, oh, it doesn't have the legendary power I need? Rip. Or it does have the legendary power I need. If it had a legendary power I needed, if it was itemized like shit, it doesn't matter. I'm still putting it on. And if it didn't have the legendary power I needed, then, well, that sucks. I'm going to replace it. That was kind of the way I felt about the gear. As far as that, I mean, if you just want to talk about stats, I guess their approach on stats was interesting. Like every stat has some value to a class now. Like, was it strength gave resource regeneration for sorceress, and int was damage, and wisdom was, I don't even remember. I don't remember them exactly. I think it changed from class to class too, if I remember correctly, didn't it?
The what?
Did they change from class to class? I think if you looked at the stats on
I
the
don't
rogue,
know.
it did.
I mean,
I think it did.
I pretty much made a rogue, so I really don't know.
Yeah, man, I could be wrong about this, but I think if you looked at it on a rogue, what strength did, and then look at it on a wizard, it was different things. So, I don't know. It was nothing that really made me go, ooh, ah. It seems like our characters are going to be full legendary at max level, legendary in every slot, with a legendary power in every slot. And there's going to be a min-max of all the powers you're going to get. You're going to equip the legendary powers that you need until you get all of them. And then at that point, you'll start hunting the same items with the same legendary powers that are just better rolls, which is exactly what we do in D3. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay.
What do you think?
Okay. Gosh, there's so much to this for me. Obviously my main focus was kind of grinding out and like really kind of min-maxing one character. I didn't have much addition, sorcerer or barb. So I really I did go pretty ham on the rogue and farmed out pretty darn good gear and got the legendary effects I want. Was even min-maxing, stripping off aspects of power and getting the max rolls on those and putting them on pieces of gear that I thought were pretty good and stuff like that. So one, I want to address that I don't think the itemization was as like, ooh, up arrow good. And I don't think that that's accurate at all. I think a lot of people complain that, especially Path of Exile streamers, which I'm going to get. There's this one has a green arrow, so I have to wear it. I don't think it's as simple as that. I was pretty much looking at exact stats from, level 10 on. I did not look at the up arrow at all because, some of these things, they matter.
I didn't either. Yeah. I agree with that. But if you played D3 at all, you kind of realize that's not always the case in D3 either, right? Because you would get
D3's up arrow was,
it was horrible,
right.
And it's like because it can't classify some abilities. It doesn't factor them into its decision. And so for me too, I don't know what level it was, but I started looking. Okay, what's the problem right now? I need more resource generation. What gives me resource generation? Willpower. Okay, this item has 5 willpower. This one has +1 all stats. I want the willpower. I'm going to put that on. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. So what was interesting is the main stat, although everything isn't total garbage, like you were saying earlier, like every stat is gonna impact your character. Whether or not you want to build that particular stat is a different subject. But the stats weren't doing basically anything in the beta, and I don't know if that's to do with like the eye level of like the drops or the level that we are as characters, but 16 dexterity equated to like 1.5 damage or something like that. So really the good rolls were like, as a rogue, it was like damage to close enemies, vulnerable enemies. Close, right? Stuff like that was really what was popping off. And so like for me, that's precisely the kind of stuff I was looking for. And I was also like a poison rogue, not crit focus, and I was looking for lucky chance. So I was like, I was min-maxing for lucky hit. And I did enjoy it. Like obviously I want more stats. I want like there to be more things that can possibly roll. I don't necessarily love like this one stat. I pause on my screen. Basic skill damage. Like no one's ever gonna fucking roll that because basic skills are garbage.
Yeah, but they're ass. That's a rant I'm gonna go into when we talk about skills. Oh my goodness.
But yeah, I think it's definitely infinitely more interesting than Diablo 3 stats. 1000%. Obviously, I want things closer to Path of Exile. That's something that I've been saying since the start of time. Oh my God. Because Diablo 3, are you kidding? Like fucking hell. Like you get a weapon and you're like, okay, I want like int and a socket. Like that's it.
That's what you're going to end up doing on this though.
Ultimately, but like there's going to be items that like, so say something rolls.
It's like 1,000 times better, but I don't think it is. I think it's going to be the same thing. I think we're going to be looking for the same pieces of gear that we have with just slightly better rolls on them.
So much fucking longer. And it's not like if you don't get those rolls, you're fucked like in Diablo 3. Diablo 3, if you don't see those stats, you just throw the item away. In this game, at least, it's like, vulnerable damage isn't as good as close damage for me, but like it's gonna be usable. I can still fucking use that.
That's the same. It's okay. So it's the same as getting the legendary power, though. It's like okay, for example, you need what's the necro ring that Crisby's? Like, let's say you don't get a Crisby's ring, right out of the gate, right? So let's say I'm gonna play a Hydra build on my sorceress, and I don't get the Serpent Sparker, whatever the hell they call it in D4, where I can cast 2 Hydras, right? It's the same thing. You're hunting legendary powers first, and once you combine all of your legendary powers, your kit's going to be there, and you're going to kick ass. And then it's going to be like, okay, but now I need a better roll in these legendaries and better stats. It's the same thing as D3, because in D3 it's the same. Like, I have to have a Crisby's. I have to have this legendary power.
But it's not, because
same
there's
thing
tiers.
In D4.
There's tiers. Like, every piece of gear can be good for your character based on what it rolls. D3, absolutely not. You get a piece of gear and it's total trash. You have to salvage it because it didn't roll X stat. And this game, like, stuff will be good for your character, but obviously there's going to be 4 stats you're ultimately looking for, but it's going to be pretty hard to hit those 4 things, first of all. And second of all, even if you don't hit those 4 things, maybe you hit 2 of 4, 3 of 4. It's different because there's going to be tiers of how good something is. And
it's
D3
going to be
is
harder.
Good or not.
I get that it'll take longer. It's going to take longer to get the stats.
But there's also tiers between, what's the lost thing here, because there's going to be things that are good. In Diablo 3, there's not things that are going to be good. Like, you can't, get a weapon.
It's just you've overlooked them because you've played so much. So you're going to get a weapon with no socket, but it's still good. So then the only reason you would ever wear Ralamandi's gift it, and then you get an ancient one, and you're like, oh, this is better, and it roll with this. So then you're going to roll in Ralamandi's that, and then you're going to get your primal one. It's the same. It's just a way shittier version in D3.
I think there's way more tiers in this system than there is in D3.
I'm with you. I just don't feel like this is the ultimate itemization.
Oh, absolutely not. I'm not arguing that. All I said was that it's infinitely better than D3 is what I said.
I don't even agree with infinitely better, yes, but infinitely, I don't know.
D3 is just the most basic, boring itemization. I mean, obviously a lot of that comes from burnout, but also at the same time, looking back, like, how the fuck did I play that itemization for so long? Because it's just, ugh. But yeah, I do think that's not like, okay, up arrow good, down arrow bad. It definitely wasn't anything close to that people were making it out to be. The thing I also found interesting is that nothing will beat a natively dropped legendary, period. Seemingly. So like that's
if you craft one, if you put your power on a legendary, you can never equal the same power as a world drop can get. Is that what you're meaning?
Like
I forget what they call it when you take an aspect.
If you put an aspect on a rare or a legendary, if a legendary rolls well and you put an aspect on it, that's probably gonna be best in slot. But nothing will beat like a true perfectly rolled just native drop. So I think that's kind of interesting because you can make it's kind of like multi-modding in Path of Exile. You could turn rares into legendaries that you can use, and like those are really good because you picked, like the 3 stats you put on that, and then you turned it into a legendary, and that's gonna be really good for a really long time. But ultimately, nothing's gonna beat out like a natively dropped legendary. So I don't know.
Do your item? I don't remember if this is the case. I think it is, but I was so busy leveling the characters, I didn't play with items as much as I wanted to. If you extract a legendary power, does it extract it at the % value that you extracted it at? Yeah. You know where that came from, right?
What do you mean?
Division 2 is the exact same system. Their extract system is literally the same out of Division 2. And it's just funny because there's a lot of D2 Division 2 influences in Diablo 4. So from the PvP system to the item extraction to all that stuff. These are all Division 2 systems. That they work in Division 2, so it's not a bad thing. But I didn't ever confirm that. I noticed it and I'm like, wait, wasn't this lower early? Oh, okay. But I wasn't 100% sure. I didn't go look in it. So yeah, itemization's there. It's not. It doesn't get me super hyped though.
I'm not saying it gets me super hyped, but
I agree. I don't think you are
a better start than D3 for sure.
Yeah. But can we take this to the next level? If this is the system we get, is it going to carry for a long time? Are they going to have to come in and say, new season 2, season 3, okay, we're adding this kind of crafting to make stuff cool. Like it feels like maybe they have a structure here they could build on potentially.
Yeah,
if they can add some crafting into it,
sure.
you know. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm not super excited though. I will say on a scale of disappointed to excited, I was leaning more towards the disappointed side of itemization.
Okay, I'm saying I'm in the middle. I'd say I was, obviously playing level 1 through 10. I was like, oh fuck, it's gonna be up arrow, down arrow. Like we're all doomed. And then it got, it quickly changed after that. I do think that these stats themselves, they could be more exciting, like damage to close enemies, damage to far enemies. It's like, well,
it seems like there were a lot of conditions on, like, you have to make enemies vulnerable, you have to make enemies staggered, you have to make. I don't know how I feel about that either, because it's like, okay, so now you're forcing me. So I only have these 2 moves in my kit, in my entire kit.
Stat, yeah.
I have to have these 2 fucking moves equipped to cause this stat.
100%.
I don't like that. Like, why? That's dumb. Like, and that goes back to the itemization problem for me.
Yep.
I think it's poor. I think it's a poor decision. Like, I understand that they were trying to break the mold of critical hit chance, critical hit damage, et cetera, et cetera. And so they're like, oh, well, let's just make it crit to vulnerable enemies. Okay, but I literally have 2 skills that can make enemies vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
So what if I want to play this build? I can't then. I'm forced into these skills.
Absolutely. So, and to add to that, so not only are you 100% true, like that's absolutely true. Like you're locked into like a bait. So on the rogue, for example, there was like the one that threw out 3 daggers. Every third hit or every hit that would be all 3 daggers hit the one target would make it vulnerable. So you would just run that because that's 100% the most consistent way to apply vulnerable. Like that's just, you have to run it. And I definitely agree that fucking blows. Second of all, if we're looking at straight at gear, and this is something I took down, like you're inflicting vulnerable, okay? You inflict more damage to healthy and injured mobs. You can slow mobs, you can daze mobs, you can stun mobs, and you can knock down mobs. But the only negative affliction seemingly you can put on an enemy is vulnerable. So it's like, what if you're in a group and it's just like, well, like the rogue's going to be applying vulnerable to everybody. And then there's like, I don't know, there's nothing else anyone else can do. Like there's no other negative stats besides vulnerable.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'll knock them down so they don't hurt us.
Yeah. It's just like, come on. Like let's get more.
And I get that. And chat's saying now that there could be legendaries that are vulnerable. Yeah. And that, like, with a grain of salt, this is level 25 itemization.
But that's still only one negative affix, right?
Yeah, I still I agree. It doesn't take away from that. And even to apply vulnerable, then any kind of vulnerable gear has to rely on you having that legendary. I just think it's a limiting.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's a limiting game design.
Yeah.
And so the defense of, well, there's legendaries that could apply it or this or that. I'm with you. It can make a fun dynamic, but it's a limiting dynamic in the end all be all.
Right.
So
you shouldn't have to. And it seems like you're going to be forced into running vulnerable on any character. Like, and that's not fun. Like
it's like running convention of elements, right?
Yeah.
Do you want more damage? Yep. Put on a convention of elements. Yep. Okay.
Apply vulnerable.
So now every class runs convention of elements for the history of the game because it's the most powerful thing. There's only one negative effect, you're going to run it. I don't know. I don't know if I have a solution for it right now with the limited exposure we have in the game.
Yeah.
But to me, from what we've seen, I'm not a huge fan of any enemy that's stunned, any enemy that's vulnerable, blah blah blah. It would do XYZ damage. Yeah. I just think it's a very narrow focused build that they want me to play.
Necros do debuff enemies, but the only debuff they have is just reducing their damage. It's not like a negative affliction or anything cool. It's not like vulnerable as like they take more damage or something like that or something crazy. But there's no other like negative affix besides like they deal less damage, and that's just like those are so not interesting. But anyways, that's a whole nother subject.
And I understand why I think they did it to break the mold. I don't want crit hit damage, crit hit chance, the same basic stats we've been using for 20 years, right? And they're trying something new, and that's cool. I don't want to totally decredit them trying to think outside the box.
Yeah.
I just don't know if this is it.
Right.
So
the other thing, the last thing about itemization I really didn't like is gems sucked. Did you look at like what each gem did?
They were ass. I don't understand that either. So I really don't. It was like the skull and the weapon gave you life on kill, and I don't know. Like, yeah, there
almost
were
like
no
crowd controlled fucking duration or something
it
like
was,
that. I was like, what?
Again, they went back to this like, weird specific modifiers for damage types, and it's like,
I want to have,
are
like,
we building crowd controlled damage builds? Like, what are we? Are we going to have a Bane of the Trap that always crowd controls enemies for us? So then it makes sense. I don't know. I don't know what the plan is, but at level 25, it was kind of like
the gems were
like,
so dumb. And then, the thing that we keep talking about with all these games is like, I want to be like, shoot. Like, God, I wish I could run an emerald, but I have to run a diamond, because it's just better for my build. But if I could have the choice, you're just like,
well, let's
hating yourself.
Leak boy that slightly into skills.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Sure.
So I don't know about anybody else. I'm going to speak from my experience and what I expected.
We're going to skills right now.
Do you not want to?
Well, I mean, I think these are the two biggest, like, kind of negative things.
Okay.
So, like, let's maybe break them apart just a little bit.
You want to talk about a positive thing? Okay.
Let's talk about, while we're still on the subject of itemization. Let's talk about crafting.
Okay.
So, what did you think about the aspect system? What did you think about Codex? What did you think about alchemists and blacksmith?
It was more. I didn't play with it as much as I would have liked to.
Okay.
Just because I wanted to level the classes and kind of feel what they were like, and I knew I'd have this weekend to get deeper into that. But I will say, from the limited, I did a little bit of each system just to see kind of like, oh, how does this work? How does that work? It's better than D3, but it wasn't. It didn't blow my mind and make me go, oh, this is amazing. This is exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Right. The extraction system felt like a twist on the Kanai cube. If you're used to that in D3, you're going to get a legendary power and you're going to extract it, right? Once you extract it, you can apply it. So it's like, okay, I got to go find the things to get the powers. I don't know, man. Nothing jumped out at me as like completely awesome.
Okay.
Again, I didn't play with it as much as I should have, so I'm gonna not say that it totally sucked and it's garbage, because I can't say that, but it didn't make me go, ooh,
sure,
this is cool.
I am also kind of in the middle, kind of towards the lower end, but in the middle. I do think that first of all, I actually really like the Codex of Power system. I think that is kind of brilliant in a way, because it's like every season I need Christmas Ends, right? And I could get it Paragon 50. I could get it Paragon 1500. And I am literally just locked behind just random number generator, RNG, right? But the Codex of Power makes it so, like, I need Christmas Ends. We'll just use that as an example. That's not an item. Okay. I hope that's not a fucking item. I need a Christmas Ends. So... And it's a vital part of my build that that I'm planning towards. And I could just play the game and try to find the legendary aspect or whatever, but that would be a terrible system, just like D3. But Codex of Power makes it so you just open up the map and you're like, okay, Dungeon X has that as the reward. So I'd go run that dungeon and I get the lowest possible roll of that legendary aspect, but I get it. So I can put my build together.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
I agree that that's a good thing. And I like that it's low, because that makes you have to find it to extract it, right?
Basically. Yeah. But it's there.
I don't know if I want to say it's like brilliant. I don't know if this is the best play ever. I am glad it's there though. You're kind of right. When I saw it at first, I'm like, oh, okay, so this is, I don't know, man. Part of me is like, it shouldn't just be on the map like that to find, right? Because that's part of the game, is the discovery and the joy of getting the thing that you need. But part of me is also like, I've been in those situations where you don't what was the ring that gave you the extra mage in Rats?
Shit.
Whatever it is. I forget the name of it. I didn't get that shit for like 800 Paragons one season. And I was like tripling up on Necros, trying to get they were going to feed me the drop too, right? And I just didn't get it. So I've been in both situations. So the fact that it gives you low power, that's cool. It's a good play. Maybe make the dungeons randomly change which powers they give to encourage you to not always run the same thing.
Yeah,
I
I agree with that. Well, here's the thing: is at launch we're gonna have like 120 dungeons, and so like they have enough dungeons to just like have them static, right? But they have enough dungeons where that's just a static number, right? But I actually did expect that to be how it worked. So like Friday, I'd look at my map and be like, okay, well I should run these dungeons because tomorrow they're gonna reset and I'm gonna have new aspects of power to like see at the dungeon. But then I realized it was static. But I did expect it to be dynamic.
Yeah, I thought they would change per class is what I did. So like I did them on my rogue and I'm like, cool, I wonder what this is gonna give me on my sorceress when I run it. And then I was like, oh wait, it's the same thing. Like, oops. And I realized that after I did the dungeon. I'm like, oh wait, I didn't get anything. What the hell? And then I pulled the map up and looked, and I'm like, oh, it actually really tells me each dungeon and what it gives. So, okay, so for next weekend, I need to run these to make sure I have the power that I want, right? Yeah, man, it's not a bad thing. I'm gonna say I'm positive on it, not game breaking, but I'm positive on it. And with a few small minor changes, I think it's a good thing. So I'm okay with that. How about what's the name of the system where you can imprint the legendary the aspects of power? Yeah. So how do you feel about it?
This is the thing. I'm in the middle. I think that is a much more interesting system than Diablo 3. I think that we're going to be able to put quite a bit of time into this because I said, it's going to be pretty hard, I think, to get 4 stats exactly how you want. And so you're going to be doing a lot of imprinting. You're going to be doing a lot of aspects. So it makes legendary drops that roll poorly, not necessarily the most awful thing because you want to rip off a perfect roll of the legendary aspect. So I think that there's some depth there. And I'm not saying that this is like, wow, this is amazing.
It's a slower Kanai cube is all it is to me. Like that's how I see it. It's like, think about when you get a drop. Let's say you were getting Furnace in D3, right? Your Furnace drops and 50% bonus damage is max roll, but your Furnace rolled 42%. And you're like, oh man, I did the dungeon, so I have it at 40%. This is 44%. Let's go ahead and rip the power out with the aspect, right?
But it's not permanent. You know that, right?
What?
The aspect doesn't stay forever. It's a one-time use.
When you rip it?
Yeah.
Oh no, I didn't realize it got used up when you used it. No, I didn't pay attention to that part. Because like I said, I didn't imprint a lot of weapons.
No worries.
I thought it was a permanent system. So you're just temporarily storing it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You're just temporarily storing it for like the next upgrade you get. And then, you could upgrade the item and then 2 seconds later you get a better weapon. And you're like, fuck, now I have to get a perfectly rolled aspect again.
No, okay. That makes me like it more, I guess. Because it's not, I thought it was a permanent thing that you just upgraded.
That's the Codex of Power. It's like a permanent base roll.
Yeah, the Codex gives you the base roll forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't realize that it went away. So that changes it. That does make it a little cooler.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's again, like I say, it's in the middle. I don't mind it. It's not the crazy innovation I was looking for, but it's so much better than D3. And I think at the very least, this will keep people entertained until like we see some like maybe more crafting improvements or maybe just like not an overhaul per se, but like just better ideas. I think that this is a decent start. Infinitely better start than D3 had, obviously.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
So there's that. I think that the Alchemist is like, why even have this like upgrade potion system? Like, because you just do it one time, and then like you do it again in 10 levels.
XP from it. Okay, I got my XP. Let's go.
I was just like, why is even? It's like the most pointless.
There's an
XP.
System. There's an XP buff on the potions that you make. So
yeah, that's fine. But I'm just talking about like strictly upgrading your health.
You're popping the potions to get the XP boost too. But and other than that, like the potion to get more counts of the potions too. Like what's our cap of potions going to be? It's at 5 now. What are we going to get 10 later on, or like what are we capping our potions at?
I actually did like the potion system though.
For
like a health potion system.
I like it more than D3s where it's on a cooldown. Because it's like if you need to pop it a couple times in a row, you can, but when you're out, you're out.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I thought at first it was going to fill up like POEs, like you had to do damage, but it seems like bosses just randomly cherry out the potions when they hit the the quarter, half, 25%, whatever. And I did see items that had, or was it skills or items that had a chance to make enemies drop potions as well when you hit them?
Yeah. It's like
So-
legendary epics, I think.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, I could see that being useful maybe. It was okay. Like I said, the potions though weren't. The upgrades were like, yeah, one and done.
Yeah.
Thanks. Bye.
The blacksmith I didn't like. I don't like the Diablo Immortal straight up just upgrade an item like 4 times basically. So you can upgrade an item 4 times and it just increases its stats basically.
Yep.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all. It's not innovative. It's not fun. It's just a gold sink. And that's the other concern that I didn't really touch on in my review is that so gold's fucking tradable and you're making all these like gold sinks. So what do you think's going to happen, Blizz?
Yeah. Is it going to be for sale on the item shop?
Like, come on.
So
no,
here's something.
Gold's not going to be, well, maybe WoW tokens and all that bullshit.
Listen, check this out. This is a dark rabbit hole to go down.
Okay.
At max level, let's say we hit level 100. I've heard that people have told me, I don't have any credible source from this, but I've had people in my chat tell me that at max level, it can cost hundreds of thousands of gold per talent point to respec.
No.
That's what I've heard. I don't know if it's true.
Okay.
But I'm saying, if that is true, and it costs hundreds of thousands to respec, then selling gold on the item shop would be a super easy cash grab, and I could totally see him doing it.
Or are they going to do like an armory system? Like you're only ever going to play one fucking build, and you're never going to be able to switch like the rune on a fucking skill?
I mean, I don't know how much gold you're going to make at endgame either, right? We might make 100,000 a dungeon. I don't know. $1 million a dungeon. I don't know. I'm just saying that if it costs let's say it costs 100,000 per skill point, and you have, I mean, how many skill points would you have at 100?
I don't know.
I think it caps you at 50, right? And then you go to Paragon points. Yeah. Is that right? I can't remember exactly the details. Let's say it's 50. So, I mean, was that 50 million gold for a respec? I don't know. So think about how much would it cost in POE to respec your character? With if you're playing trade, right? Easy. If you're SSF, is it that easy though?
Yeah. I mean, how many times are we respecing here? I guess like Orbs of Regret aren't that rare, but like if you want to do it
but
once
they're enough where you're not going to respec
day,
2 or 3 times, right?
No. Right. Yeah.
So that's the thing in Diablo. It's like, it seems to me, it seems very contradictory to me to like have these skills, and it feels like they built a system that's going to encourage you to experiment and test and try new things and try new builds, and you're going to get a legendary and let me swap my build, right? That's the way it looks like it's designed. But then if it's true that that respecking is going to be that expensive, and if our income isn't that high, then like, okay, now I can't though, right?
Yeah.
It just seems like the two systems are fighting each other. And again, I don't know how much truth is behind this because this is only what I've been told. There are people have linked me articles where the devs have confirmed that. Like, but is that still the current landscape or mindset of the dev team now? Shit changes pretty quick. They could say something a year ago, 2 years ago that doesn't hold true today. You know, just like the angel and demonic system they had. Well, like, yeah, you could hear the devs talking about that too, but it's gone. So I don't know. Take it with a grain of salt. But my dark rabbit hole goes expensive to respec, encouraging you to respec, low income at max level. Here, just buy some gold. We'll fix that problem. You know what I mean? Oh, need 10 million gold? Here's a $5, $10. You know?
Yeah. I mean,
that's super pay to win.
Yeah, scary
in my opinion. Like, don't, let's hope.
Okay. What's next up? Okay, so yeah, that's the crafting aspects. Okay. Codex I love. Blah blah blah. Let's go on to combat. How do we feel about it?
This is controversial, I think, because I don't think I'm in the same boat as everybody else on the planet. Everybody likes the combat that I've talked to, says it feels great. I played Lost Ark. I don't know what to tell you, man. Have you played Lost Ark is still my response when people tell me the combat's amazing. I go, have you played Lost Ark? Never did I find myself wanting to kill mobs in this game for fun. I still want to kill mobs for fun in Lost Ark. I'm thinking about it right now. Makes me want to go kill some mobs for fun in Lost Ark. It's a great time. It felt fluid. I don't think it felt as fluid as D3. Surprisingly, I think it's like Diablo 3.5. The double skill glitching that I was getting every now and then. I feel like there are some animations that seem to lock you in place a little bit longer than on D3. It's just like, oh, I'm trying to move and I can't. You know what I mean? And it's a little slower. But level 25, we don't have movement abilities yet. We're kind of running slow. So comparatively, a level 25 D3 player versus a level 25 D4, yeah, it feels like Diablo 3.5. You know?
Interesting.
I'm personally disappointed, but that goes into the skill tree. You know,
Okay.
I think those are intertwined. I think they go together.
Okay.
You know,
combat and skill tree go together.
I think it affects the way you play the game.
Yeah, obviously skill tree affects everything, but
yeah,
yeah, I'm in the same boat as I think that obviously Lost Ark is best in class combat. Blizzard continues to say to this day, and it drives me nuts anytime they say it, but like they say it all the time. We have best in class combat. No, you fucking don't. Stop saying that.
It's not even close, man.
It's not even
it's
remotely
like amateur
close.
Boxer versus fucking Mike Tyson. Like it's not even same.
But
same
I do think it's more methodical. I think it slows down combat, which is a good thing. I think that we were way too fast in D3.
Yes, I agree.
I do agree that, you know, if we had more access to more skills, that it would feel better. And, you know, anything that's like over 30 seconds, blah, 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 you know, we'll get into skills. And I feel like we're both just going to tear skills apart. But yeah, I think it's an improvement over D3. I think that it slowed down and it should feel that way. And I didn't mind that. I think I'm also jaded here a little because, you know, I will say that if my experience in D4 had just been the sorcerer, if my experience in D4 had just been the barbarian, I would have come into this podcast with a very different attitude. But I did enjoy the rogue. I wasn't like, wow, I'm going to kill trash mobs like I do in Lost Ark, but I didn't mind it. I was having a good time. I admittedly am also someone who loves mobility, and that's what the rogue did very well. Like there was at least 3 skills that made you move, and they were all pretty fun to use. So I didn't mind combat. I think, again, I'm going to put myself in the middle here. Only because my expectation is Lost Ark. That's the pinnacle for me. Yeah. And I was hoping we'd at least get close to that. But
yeah, and I think so the rogue does have a lot of movement in melee. I didn't min-max my rogue's gear near as much as you did.
Obviously.
So maybe it feels a lot better when you start doing that. But I will say that melee had a lot more difficult time on specific mechanics in the game.
Yeah.
Specifically, and I'm going to use the world boss as an example because I think a lot of people probably experienced that who got to play. If the world boss decided to stand in a bunch of poison, there's not really much you can do. And if it's AI, it was just like, yo, I'm just going to stand in this poison for a while. You know, like, okay, I'm just going to chill for a little bit and just sit here and watch the caster, watch the mage, just go have fun. There were other mobs that did that. Now, nothing in the beta was extremely difficult. Like we obviously from instant one played it on the highest difficulty we could. It was pretty much a joke. I'm assuming the normal difficulty had to have been like, you can't die. I don't know. Because this one wasn't very hard.
Right.
The only time that I ever really got my butt kicked was when I ran into Butcher in a dungeon accidentally. I didn't even know he was a thing. And then I thought he was a trash mob because I wasn't paying attention. So I'm talking to chat and just doing my thing. And all of a sudden I'm like at half health. I'm like, what's kicking my ass right now? And then I'm like, oh, it's the Butcher. And I'm like, that's cool. And then I blink away or teleport away, and then he rips me back and then proceeds to just give it to me. Found out he's immune to all CCs. Like I couldn't slow him. There was no way to get him off me, right? So I was like, okay. And so he killed me. That was a fun surprise. Cool. I would have been pissed if it was hardcore, right? But for softcore, I was like, oh, and then I go back and he's gone. And then I was disappointed because I was like, I'm ready for him this time. I was just chilling before. So that's kind of a cool thing to kind of keep you on your toes in a dungeon. You're like, oh, I'm in this dungeon, and you never know when Butcher's just going to be around the corner and smoke you. So that was kind of fun.
Agree.
But yeah, Melee, I feel like Melee had a harder time in this. And of course, that could all be a balance issue that they could tweak very easily at endgame if that turns out to be the case. Yeah. So
specifically the D4 version of the succubus, they were programmed to run away from you, and they were programmed very well to run away from you, and it was very obnoxious on I think the second boss fight where you have to fight like 3 of them and then 5 of them, and on a barb and a rogue, that was just like annoying.
It wasn't fun. There were many times on the rogue where I would like an example. There was the boss that would spawn the red exploding orbs around the room, and you had to go kill the orbs. Right. It sucked in the rogue. It was like, oh, they're spawning orbs. Let me go run and kill a couple so I'm safe. And it's like, okay, now let me go back to the boss. And it just felt like a big time sink. And then you do that on the sorceress, and you're like, oh, there's a couple orbs. Cast, done. 2 chain lightnings and the room's clear. And you're like, okay, thanks. And then you go back to the boss. So, again, that's just a melee versus range balancing thing, and they can easily fix that. But
I was surprised, like there's no difference. You know what I mean? Like in D3, like the melee classes, maybe like the barb had like a bit of a more mitigation. In this game, that doesn't seem to be the case. Like there's no difference between a range rogue and a melee rogue.
Yeah, exactly. Like, a barb has 35% damage reduction inherently or something in D3. Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty interesting. It's like, well, why would you be melee if like there's just no difference in your damage?
Like you're looking at this stream and you're just running from those mobs to get to your objective, and then you stop to kill them all, right? Because you had a nice little pack. But it's like in Lost Ark, man, there's no way you would have let them chase you. That you would have been like, oh,
there's no way in this game. If I saw a mob by itself, like I see a single lone wolf, I'm not stopping to kill that wolf. Are you crazy?
Ever.
Lost Ark, I'd be like, let's try out this room. Like
you're like, yo, watch this, and you do like a wind up, and you're just like, you're like, batter up, oh, home run. You know what I'm saying? Totally. Like it's just, I don't know, man. And it's crazy that the people that don't understand or have said they played it and they don't like it, like I don't know what you played. Like go play the Berserker in Lost Ark, and then I just you don't like Berserker?
No, I don't think it's the most fun at all in Lost Ark.
I enjoyed it quite a bit. Because they have like there's so many juggle combos into the big wind up swing, and it felt so rewarding to land. Sure. Even the sorceress, I don't know, man. There was just I
think that's the telltale. Like there's not a class in Lost Ark I did not enjoy. I don't like playing a bow and arrow character. I don't like playing, typically a summoner, which sounds crazy because I'm a necromancer. I also don't like playing any spellcaster. And I never played a class. And a guy with guns, like get out of here. I'm usually like, that's the worst. I don't want to see guns in an ARPG. And then I played the guy with guns, and I'm like, holy shit, this is great.
Yeah, he was fun as hell. Yeah. And I don't really have a lot else to say about combat. If you like Diablo 3 combat, you'll like Diablo 4 combat. That's that simple. If they didn't innovate anything, they didn't change anything. It feels very much the same. Maybe a little bit better mob AI.
Yeah.
The exploders chase you now and explode on you, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
First time I saw that, I was like, ooh, that's new. So
yeah, I did like the mechanics of the mobs. I did like some of the boss fights. I do like finely telegraphed attacks. Like I like all that stuff.
Some of the bosses felt extremely tanky, extremely
like bullet
sponge. Yeah, like to a kind of unnecessary point. It's like my threat level of dying here is pretty low, but yet you're making it take 7 minutes to kill this boss. So again, that's easy tuning. They can fix that pretty easily. Do you want to go to skill trees?
You're just dying.
I am,
Go
dude.
to the
I'm
skill
so
tree.
dying. I'm so dying. I can't take it. We'll
let's-
save it for
let's-
last.
yeah,
What
let's
else
save
we
it for
got?
last.
We'll save it for last
yeah.
because it's the longest as
obviously.
well.
Let's go with classes.
Okay.
So we both played all 3. I think neither of us leveled Barb to max.
No. So here's what I hear in the grapevine through Barb. Barb is one of the best characters at endgame, from what I'm to understand.
Okay.
But my level 1 through whenever I decided to quit playing it because it wasn't fun experience was drastically worse than Rogue and Sorcerer. I mean, it wasn't close. Their generations. So Sorcerer and Rogue passively get their resource back. There are some basic abilities that would give you extra resource back, but for the most part, it's a passive regen. And Barb works in the exact same as it does in D3. It's a Fury Spender generation system.
Mm-hmm.
Generating Furies felt extremely clunky and extremely slow. And it was very, very painful. The upheaval was like one of the few skills that I felt was like, oh, this is okay.
But it's Seismic Slam anyways.
It's reverse Seismic Slam. Okay. But yeah, we're going to get to that.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel, for the amount of effort it took to get that ability off, it was like, damn, that's disappointing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't, they need some serious love as far as resource generation and spender is concerned. In
Basic
my opinion.
skills need. Oh,
yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, it's so hard not to go to it, man. So hard. So, but yeah, it's classes. Sorceress was fun. I enjoyed it. If the game launched today and we only had these 3 classes to choose from, I would pick Sorcerer. Okay. I think I was the most fun that I had of the 3. Rogue's movement abilities felt really fun. They felt like you took Shadow Step, which I think it was called Shadow Step. I'm not sure. Is literally Shadow Step from a rogue in World of Warcraft. Okay. They have the dash forward mechanic, which is like from a demon hunter in World of Warcraft. Both of those are very fun skills to play with, and I really enjoyed them. What's their third mobility? Caltrops shoots you backwards. That felt really good when I played the bow rogue. Yep. And actually, it's funny is because I didn't take that skill at first because I'm like, Caltrops, man, get out of here. Nobody cares about Caltrops. Like I was actually upset it was in the game. And then eventually I was like, well, let me just test it and see what it feels like. And then I used it and I was like, okay, this is much better than I thought. This is actually a decent skill. So I do like what they did with Caltrops. But yeah, I would say Sorcerer for me though. Rogue's got a lot of potential. It just depends on what changes they make to it and what the itemization in game makes it feel like, you know. But
yeah, so yeah, we both agree. I think Barb was not fun. Again, I know that it kind of ramps up after level 18, but man, was it a pain in the ass to level. The only reason I ended up leveling like a sorcerer anyways is because it was like the easiest thing in the world. I could just walk through and like click one button and he was like max level. It was just like dumb how fucking
chain lightning
easy it was.
once or Hydra or both.
Yeah. That's chain lightning Hydra. That's it. It was the whole level.
You want to make it even more stupid? They have one of the sorceress's abilities was have you seen the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember the blue guy Yondu? I think his name is Yondu. He was
the guy was like the whistling.
Yeah. So he had the whistling spear dagger thing.
Yeah.
Right, that flew around.
He's OP.
Yeah. Sorceress literally has that ability in the game, and it was kind of fun.
Right?
Yeah. It's like a conjured item.
Yeah.
I think that's what they call them. And you call that out, and it's literally the whistle just running around shooting through people and killing them. And I was like, oh, it's Yondu. I'm Yondu now. And so that was kind of fun. You could throw that with a Hydra and literally not do anything. Right. You could just run in circles and just don't get hit, and the screen melts.
The Hydra reminded me of like Singularity mages. They're just like shredding.
It was just like Hydra and D3. I mean, there's not a lot changed. It just had the Hydra set where you just throw Hydras and watch them melt the screen. So, hold on. I got to write a note in the thing because this is another rant.
Okay. Is that all you have to say about the classes though? Or?
Well, I think that's based on skills, man. Sure. It's hard to get into anything because it all rotates around skills.
Okay. Getting the only reason I
What do you
love
think?
Sorcerer is because it's so easy. Barb was not enjoyable for me, but that goes into the skill stuff as well. Rogue, I did like. I did play a lot of it. I think the mobility is super fun. I was super disappointed. As someone who loves poison, and like that's the whole reason I wanted to play a rogue. It like obviously the lack of the amount of skills was a problem, and we'll get into that in a second. But like the fact that one of your biggest damage dealers was a fucking trap ability, which is like gross.
Yeah,
It sucked.
I would never, ever, go traps.
No,
ever in a game. And I was like you. When I first launched the game, I wanted to play a poison dagger rogue. That's what I wanted to play. And then I tried the multi. I was like, man, this feels underwhelming. Early levels, we're talking, like 1 to 10. I don't remember how high it was, but I remember early levels. I go, this feels really underwhelming. This isn't that fun, right? And then somebody was like, try the multi. I don't know what multi-shot was called, but it's multi-shot from a Demon Hunter in D3.
Right.
They're like, try the multi-shot skill. I'm like, no, man, I don't want to play bows. I want to play that. And then I got a good bow drop like 10 seconds later, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'll put the bow, I'll try it. And then I went multi-shot, and I was like, okay, this is pretty busted. This feels really good. And I actually played that up until like level 20. And then I swapped back to daggers again at 20. Because I'm like, I want to play dagger rogue. Let's play it and see. So, but traps are
not good.
so not fun. So
I really hate the idea of playing a poison trap. And that's like, we'll get in skills, but like that's just one of the only ways I can apply poison, which is just so silly. But all right, man, like we've been alluding to it all podcast. Let's start talking about skills.
do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I guess we should break it down into like categories, I guess. I don't even like we're both gonna have a lot of things to say.
Yeah. So the initial, I'm going to start at a high level.
Okay.
I think the initial design and direction that they are going for in skills is horrible. I think it is flawed in very huge ways. They are repeating mistakes they made in D3. They are very uninspiring. And in a lot of cases, they're forcing you into specific skills that don't make any sense as to why they would do that. So I'll start with that high level, and then I'll break skills down after I hear your thoughts on,
Yeah, I mean, from a high level, looking at the skill tree, it's like, at first you're like, okay, cool. Like, I'm picking this, and I'm picking these 2 runes, and then you get to like the lower tier, and then, I don't know, I guess a part of me was expecting the skill tree to just like kind of keep going down. And like, I don't know, it was just so disappointing the amount of skills that we had access to, and each skill only branching into 2 twigs, like ultimately.
Yeah. It's 2 twigs. You can't even get both the twigs. You have to pick between the other one, which is like, why? I don't understand that design either. But if we start at the root, we have our basic skills.
Yeah.
Okay. And your basic skills are just that. They're extremely basic. I would never, ever use this skill in my life. That's what they mean.
Right. It's just like a time filler.
Yeah, but...
And your way to apply vulnerable. Right.
You're forced to pick them up. Like, you're forced to. You can't skip it.
No.
You can't not do it. You have to use one of your 6 ability bars. Well, I guess you don't have to. You could literally just not put it on your bar. But you have to dump 2 points into your basic skills to get out of that tier. And I didn't find a single basic skill on any of the classes that I wanted to use ever that had any inspiration in it, that felt new, that felt fun to press, that had any benefit to my character to press. It was like your basic skills didn't generate resource unless you talented into it, and then it was only on vulnerable mobs. So it's like I have to cast it way too many times in order to get them vulnerable to then generate the resource, which is very little. Basic skills were a joke, and it's a horrible design to force us into using them. They shouldn't even exist, period.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously the basic skills were so boring and dull, and they did no damage. They didn't do anything cool, and it ended up being for the rogue. It's just which skill can apply vulnerable the best, and which skill can apply vulnerable. Period. Because it's just you end up going the 3 dagger route because it was just a one-time click to apply vulnerable and right in front of you, and which sucks because there was another one that generated more resource, like 20% more resource over time, and that'd be kind of nice, but vulnerable just wins because it's more fucking damage, so you have to pick it and you're dumb not to. So definitely I agree that I guess coming from D3 as well as no one runs a primary skill in Diablo 3, and you're not forced to run a primary skill by any means in Diablo 3.
Yeah, but there are some classes that have generators. You have to generate. And I'll just throw out the Shenlong monk, or whatever the generator monk is, what most people are going to refer to it as. So you have to generate resource to cap your resource to get your damage bonus. But in general, in Diablo 3, before we got super crazy with legendary powers and things and item sets, you had a generator spender system, right? You generate a resource to use your more damage spender resource, and that's how it worked. But you don't have generators in Diablo 4, like the Fury Warrior does, but it barely generated. The other classes, it's pretty passive, and it's back to the same lame, in my opinion, system of generator spender. I think generator spender is a very old and dated game design.
Agree.
Lost Ark has proven that there are ways to get out of that generator spender circle and do it much better. And they could have even done that in the confines of the D3 system. Their gameplay could be very similar and still get away from a generator spender system. So I think the basic skills were just a bad idea in general.
Yeah.
And it's too late now to ever get rid of them, but man, I'm super disappointed in that.
Yeah.
Its existence. So
I think the thing that absolutely disappointed me the most, if we're talking about things that disappointed the most, was just the pure volume. The fact that we had more skills and more options for skills in Diablo fucking 3? Diablo 3?
Yeah.
How can we go backwards?
So that's going to take me on to, I'm going to jump to the next tier, right? So what do they call the next tier? Specialty skills? Super
core,
I don't even know.
I think.
Core, yeah, I don't even know what they call them. So I'm going to say tier 2 skills. So you jump down to your tier 2 skills, and it's okay, these are the ones that are actually going to probably do damage for you. Yeah, these are my spenders. But they were so, as a rogue, you had 2 spenders as melee and 2 spenders as ranged. That's it. That's literally it. You had, if you want to play a dagger rogue or a melee rogue, you have 2 choices. That blows my mind. Could you imagine going into D3 and now all of your spenders are gone and you have 2 choices?
Right.
What?
Yeah.
What? Okay, so then if you're playing,
they only had 2 runes,
and they only have 2 runes to choose from. And then on top of all that, they're not even cool. If they were the most badass, we were oh my God, how did they think this? This is nutty.
Yeah.
Right? But no, it's the rogue is a fan of knives type thing where you throw out some knives in an arc in front of you. Okay, that's not really that inspiring at all.
Right.
So I'm gonna go with Sorcerer. Sorcerer had Hydra. Hydra's cool. We've seen it in D3, and as a matter of fact, it actually looks a little cooler in D3, in my opinion. But we've seen it. Okay, but I like Hydra. I'm not really mad at that. Comet or Meteor might have been the next tier down, but I'm just gonna go ahead and rant on this for a second. If you guys don't believe me, this weekend when it's open beta, go make a Sorcerer, get Comet, and cast that shit. Go jump on D3 and cast Meteor and see which one looks better. I said Comet. I don't know if they call it Comet or Meteor. I think they actually call it Meteor in D4 as well. It looks better in D3, 100% hands down. It looks 10 times cooler. And the reason I say this because I played a Meteor Wizard this season in Diablo 3, so I know what they look like. I was playing it for a couple weeks. And then I got in D3, I'm what is this? Is a legendary going to make it look cooler? Maybe. Are we going to have cosmetics that make it look cooler? I hope. But to see a skill that's literally the same as D3, but looks worse, feels worse. Has the meteor came down and hit mobs and did nothing. It was like, okay, this didn't even do anything.
Yeah, that's
so
disappointing.
Yeah. It's pretty bad. But yeah, I'll say, and then also there was no synergy between the tiers. Like your basic skills, or there wasn't as much synergy as I would have hoped for. Your basic skills into your core skills, into your whatever. If I wanted to play a fire mage, it didn't make sense. If I wanted to play, let's say I wanted to play like pure fire, it didn't make sense. I was handicapping myself.
Yep.
If I wanted to go pure frost or pure lightning, it handicapped because these skills were clearly better than the others. There was no benefit to me keeping the same school of magic.
Yep.
That blew my mind. It literally blew my mind.
Yep.
I'm like, I want to play a frost sorcerer, and it made no sense to do that. And I'm just like, okay, well, what the hell? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree that
I'll let you rant for a little bit. I got more, but I'll let you go.
The sorcerer, I agree with that. Is that it's just like, well, it almost felt like, am I doing this wrong? Like I should be specializing. Like I should be a cold mage. I should be a lightning mage. I should be a fire mage. And then if I'm not, like something like Talrasha, where you like cast a different element within 10 seconds, you get like added. Like it's kind of what I expected to be happening. But yeah, there's no focus. There's no reason to pick anything. It's just like, well, just pick whatever skill you want, which you could argue is a good thing because you could, but it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel right for Diablo.
It didn't feel right.
Yeah,
and you could also argue that maybe there's benefits to doing it later on when we get legendary items, or maybe there's benefits to doing it later on when we get Paragon board or something unlocked that we haven't seen, right? And so I do take all this in with a small grain of salt. Like, okay, we haven't seen the full game yet. It is super scary to what we have seen though, as far as skills go.
Yeah,
it looks extremely disappointing to me.
I think this is the skill tree though. Like this is the same skill tree that the end game beta got.
I know, but why? But why? Even if there are legendaries that make things cool, why do I need a legendary to make a skill cool? Why can't a skill just be cool out of the box?
Yeah.
You know, like Meteor looks like garbage. Like it doesn't do anything and it looks like garbage. If I get a legendary that makes it a Frost Meteor and it looks badass when it hits the ground and blows enemies up, that's really cool. But why not give me that out the gate and then have the legendary do something different? Like make the skill feel like I have a skill.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. I think that to further touch on that is that there were clear and obvious options. Like skills outperform other skills at their like base effect. So like you really only have one option while leveling. Like this is just going to outperform everything else because skills aren't good by themselves. And then really you don't get to use and play with the other skills until you get legendaries that make those like better than the other skills. So I don't like that. I don't like being forced into anything. I think that's terrible.
At the end of the day, you want your class to be fun. That's why we play. We play because we want to have fun. We don't play because we have to or whatever. We play because we want it to be fun. And these skills weren't fun to use. They weren't inspired in any facet of my imagination.
Yeah.
And I didn't genuinely go, oh, this is amazing. The only skill that I actually cast, and I was like, oh, that's pretty damn cool, was Chain Lightning. I think Chain Lightning on the Sorceress looked cool. They had a cool animation. It bounced around the screen kind of cool. And I was like, oh, that's fun to cast. When I first cast it, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I think that's the only skill in the game that I remember using and going, oh, that's kind of cool. Was one out of all three classes.
Okay.
What think about it for you. Did you have a skill when you used it? You're like, ooh, maybe Shadow Step or the dash were like, oh, that's nice, right?
The dash and the Shadow Step.
You kind of expected what they were gonna do though, but I was like, oh, that's cool to have, right?
I did, but I was also like, wow, like this is cooler than I expect with the imbuements. Like when I imbued poison and then I dashed, everything got poisoned. Like I like that aspect of it. So I was a big fan of that, and I didn't really expect that interaction, but I was all for it. So yeah, I mean, there were definitely a few skills on the rogue that I was like, yeah, that's cool. I like that. But again, it's because rogue's new. And we can talk about this right now. Is that fucking Barb? I think there's one skill the Barb had access to that didn't exist in Diablo 3. Literally.
What?
And Sorcerer
Listen, did
was
you
all the
use
same shit.
Whirlwind? Did you actually use
Yes.
Whirlwind on Barb?
Because it was the best thing until like level.
And what
12.
did it look like? What did it actually look like when you cast it?
Whirlwind. What do you mean?
It looked like it looks better in D3.
Nothing. To me, I don't agree with that point. Like nothing looks better in D3. D3 is like
Yes,
fucking
it does.
Fortnite of ARPGs. It's awful to look at.
No, it looks better. Like the animation in D4 was just.
Well, what are you expecting? I guess you get expectation here is like what Lost Ark style animations. I'm like, I don't care if the skill doesn't look good. I just want it to perform.
I want it to look cool. I want the animations to look cool. Like
I don't expect at level 25 any skill is gonna like look that amazing. I just want it to work and be good and not be shit.
I think it. Yeah, I think the cool factor of Whirlwind just looking cool as you're spinning. It just, I don't know, man. It didn't do it for me. I was like, ooh, it looks bad, you know? Yeah, I don't know. Same with Meteor. I mean, same with Hydra. Like they look better in D3. Like I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
To caveat onto that.
Okay.
I'm gonna piggyback what I think is a horrible skill design that they're doing with Rogue, and I'm sure it'll be in other classes. I just haven't found it yet. They're putting in abilities that have no methodical reason to not really just mash them on input.
What are we talking about right now?
Can you min-max a little bit by not doing it? Yes. But the Envenom poison stuff for the Rogue,
you would absolutely not just pop that off cooldown. No.
If you're running through the world, there's no reason you wouldn't have it popped because it's going to come off cooldown sooner.
You would put it on. You would always have it on, and
so you're always going to sit there and spam it. You're always going to sit there and spam it. Well, no, you wouldn't just
spam it because you'd only need to put it on once. It's not like it's giving you more imbues if you click it again.
Yeah, the second it comes off is like, okay, let me hit it again. 9 seconds later, let me hit it again.
No, because you would line up imbuement with certain skills. You don't just spam it.
No, 100%. I get that you're going to line it up with certain skills. But when those skills come up, you're going to hit it on cooldown. Every time it's up, you're hitting it on cooldown.
It's not the argument of like fucking Devour where you're just spamming it because there's no reason not to spam it. There's absolutely a reason not to spam imbuements.
There's absolutely a reason not to spam it on extremely difficult bosses or end game things.
No,
when you're running through trash mobs and you're smashing stuff, you can mindlessly spam it on cooldown.
You can't.
And you're going to sit there and destroy it.
No.
Yeah, you can because you're going to be using the abilities.
Your better interest to like shadow imbue a dash, shadow imbue.
And it's on a 9-second cooldown too, right? So it's like you're always going to do that. You're always going to be like, it's been 9 seconds, imbue dash.
No.
Imbue dash because they're off cooldown.
I disagree with what you're saying right now.
No,
I know what you're saying, and I know what you're trying to get at.
It's bad design, man.
I disagree.
It is bad design to have cooldowns that you're just.
It's not a mindless spam off cooldown. It's not like fucking Devour is. Absolutely not.
You'll see that when you get to endgame, I bet 90% of the time you're going to spam it off cooldown. You're going to group up trash and you're going to spam it until the trash is dead. If you're on a boss and you're timing up your big damage, then yes, absolutely you wouldn't. No. But on a 9-second cooldown,
we're talking about beta. Like, how many more hours of Rogue did I like? You know what I mean? Like, it's not something you just spam off cooldown mindlessly. Absolutely not. At any point in the game.
Okay. All right.
I disagree.
I played it too. I disagree. I was spamming it on cooldown and slaying all the trash.
But you also didn't put a build together. There was no thought that went into, you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. My point is I didn't have to. There was no thought.
Right. You could just spam it. Like if you didn't know what you were doing, you could just fucking spam the skill. Absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
And why are you having games why are you putting cooldowns in there?
You wouldn't just spam it if you're a good player, is what I'm saying.
Oh my God.
You wouldn't just spam it off cooldown. You're shadow imbue. Okay. Click.
Yeah. You literally can though. It's bad design. I don't like it.
But why would you? Like that's not playing well. That's not min-maxing your damage.
Okay. I disagree. I disagree that it's a good skill. I don't like it. I think it's bad design.
Okay, it's not something I 100% understand what you're saying. Like Devour is like there's no cost to it, and like if there's a corpse in range, you probably want to be devouring it, and so it's like something you numlock. And there's other skills in Diablo where it's just like you fucking cast it when it's up. Period, because it's just
there was another skill that I thought I found that you would spam on cooldown too. I can't remember if it was on Barb or what it was. Maybe it was a sorceress one. I should have wrote it down at the time because I didn't use it very long. I'm trying to think of another one, but it kind of goes hand in hand. Like, I don't know, man. I felt like there was a lot of skills that there wasn't a lot of thought placed into the cooldown of the ability versus the damage output, and it felt like you would, unless you're in a boss battle where you're trying to min max your damage, that you're just going to mindlessly spam them, and it's like, okay, we're falling back on the same play style that we have in D3.
I don't feel the same. I don't know what else to say. I know what you're trying to say, but you're not just spamming poison imbue or shadow imbue because it's off cooldown. That'd be
we'll see how it ends up playing out. When we get the other skills. I'm curious to see if Necro has the same things, and if Druid's going to have something. But I feel like there's going to be, they're going down this rabbit hole of, oh, here's a skill, just mash it on cooldown.
Yeah, I mean, skills, we just need more. Like that's the bottom line. It's just like, wow, how do we have no fucking skills per tier? Second, is it like ultimate is a tier of skills and it's taking up one of our skill slots? Like that just doesn't make sense, period.
Yeah, ultimates should get their own button. Yeah. It should be a choice.
There should never be a fucking cooldown. And like, especially in this game, that's like, there's 90-second cooldowns. You're basically making it so that players have 5 skills instead of 6. Like literally. Unless there's something per class, it's like, okay, reduce the cooldown of like this skill every time you do this, and it's like, okay,
the
that's something
sorceress runs didn't even do shit. Like the serpent snake looks really cool, and it sucked enemies in, which is a cool gather mechanic. But for your 50-second ultimate to not even pump, like my Hydra was pumping out way more damage than my ultimate did, and it's like there's no cooldown on that. I can just pump that all day. Like I don't. So again, that's an easy balance fix. Oh, the snake doesn't do much damage. Let's, give it some more damage. That's cool. But I don't know, man. We need an ultimate button.
Right.
The ultimate skills need to go to the ultimate button.
Ultimate's almost like counterintuitive because like there's times, so the Shadow Clone was pretty OP on the Rogue, if you knew what you're doing. And you would almost like not want to use it. Like you don't want to really use it off cooldown because the cooldown was long, and you're like, well, if I
it's
fight,
the same with the snake. Like I had it, but I'm like, well, I don't need to use it right here because I'm going to destroy these mobs anyways. And like, oh, there's an elite pack or whatever. Oh, well, I'll kill them in 2 seconds. We'll just save it, like you're saying, and then you save it for 5 or 6 minutes when you could have used it 6 times now, but you don't.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where that's why I don't like cooldowns. That's why I dislike long cooldown systems. And again, that pushes me back to Lost Ark. Now, I do have a little complaint with Lost Ark's ultimate system was very good as well, but I did have that same pitfall with Lost Ark where I would hold on to my ultimate in Lost Ark for a long time too, because I didn't want to use it. I'm like, I'm going to save it for the boss.
Right.
And as you're doing the campaign the first time or two, you maybe don't remember where all the bosses are going to be at, or when exactly is the best time to use it.
But the important distinguishment is that it's not like it's not penalizing you just for sitting on it like it is in D4.
And so what I ultimately did on the sorcerer was I didn't even take an ultimate. I started with one for a while. I tried various ones, and then I was like, so one, it's not an ultimate. Let's get rid of the name. Because it's really not.
Skill,
it's a skill, right?
Yeah.
And so B, then I was like, well, I could invest these points back into Hydra or take the passives in that same tree that give me like fire damage or whatever they did instead. And I was like, okay, I'm going to end up going that route.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's, didn't love that. There's something I was just going to bring up, but I lost it already.
I don't know. I think we've covered most of it. So I'll say this. I would say my overall vibe tonight specifically has been super negative and critical of the game. That being said, I still had a fun time, man. I still enjoyed my play experience. It was still very exciting to get a new toy, to be able to play and explore and learn new things. I missed it when it was gone. Monday night, I was like, damn, I wish I had D4 to play, But it does. I think I've come into this with an even glimmer outlook on the future. I already kind of felt like, from what I had seen and read and heard and all the rumors and stuff, that I felt like the game was going to have a 3 to 4 week shelf life before I was like, okay, I'm out of stuff to do. We still haven't seen the end game, but nothing in this has made me go, oh yeah, man, I think this is going to be the game that I'm going to grind for 1,000, 2, 3, 4,000 hours. You know what I mean?
See, I don't know. See, I went into it, I guess, with just the utmost of lowest expectations. And so to see the game in its current form, like, this isn't unsavable to me. This is, this is a better base formula than we had in past Diablo games. It's a better base formula than we've seen in like games like Wolcen and other things that have tried to come to market. So yeah, I mean, I think that there's stuff here that they can work on and they can build a game off of. It's just a matter of like, are they going to do it? And I mean, does what we say even matter? Like, maybe the game comes out and people are like, we want more zones to explore, and that's what we want to do every season. Like.
Yeah, it's a great shell. I agree with that. It's a very fantastic framework that they've set up to build off of, and it's a very good shell. I'm very, very disappointed with the skills. I think if somebody had to say, what's your biggest problem with Diablo 4? Without a doubt, to me, it's the skills.
Yeah,
I think the skills are uninspired and they're a poor design.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if they can rebalance the skills, maybe they can add new skills into seasons. I don't know if that's something they're already doing. There's so few skills per class, and for the amount of development time they've had, I'm surprised. Like, to me, I got to think, man, there has to be a play. There has to be seasons are going to have a new skill for each class, or big patches. Like, POE does its 3-month cycle, right? Or 4-month cycle. So every big major content patch, are they going to add new skills in for each class? I hope there's something to make skills not suck. And then that's a huge start. The end game content, to me, this goes into dungeons, right? 100. What are they advertising? 122 dungeons.
123. Yeah.
123. The dungeons use the same tile types. There are big groups of dungeons, and areas dungeons have the same thematic look. Like, it's caves, or there's ice caves, there's a caves, there's like a wooden building looking dungeon, but there's only specific ones. So several dungeons are very similar and indistinguishable. If I were like, hey, Fluff, I'm going to run, I'm just going to make a name up. I'm going to run the Dark Cellar dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're not going to go, oh, I know that one because it looks like this and has this aesthetic appeal to it, right? Or this thing. You're going to be like, oh, which one is that? Because they're all like, tell me something specific about a dungeon that you saw. They're all like, go grab some cubes and bring them to the middle, or do this thing. But a lot of the dungeons look so same-ish that I'm like, wait, I actually ran out of a dungeon? I was like, I did this one already. And then I ran out and I'm like, oh, no, I didn't. I haven't done this. Let me go back in. And so to me, it's like, yeah, you have 123 dungeons, but really it doesn't feel like 123 dungeons. It feels like maybe however many tile sets you have. You know, we have 10, 15, I don't know. So like 15 thematically different dungeons that are all going to have the same, go grab some cubes or go grab the thing. I think that's going to end up being a black eye for Blizzard, is the marketing on that. They're marketing this as 123 dungeons and it's all over the place. And I don't know, man. I think that's going to come back to get some criticism.
Yeah, I don't really. I'm with you. I don't understand the point of, one, marketing it that way, but two, I mean, they are different. Like, I see why that they're saying that. Like, yeah, some of them share the same tile set. But
yeah, the layout's different.
But the layout, obviously, the tile set and layout means it's different. But they'll have, like, for that tile set, it's a different objective. For that tile set, it's a different boss. For that tile set, it's a different whatever.
Right.
So they're all technically different.
I get it, and I get it.
Would rather see
say that,
like an obelisk, like per fucking zone, instead of like all these different maps for it to like walk to. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. But
I agree with that too. Walking to the zones is kind of a pain in the ass. That may not be. That'll be better when we have waypoints unlocked and maybe a horse to get there. But I do agree 100%. And the ability to not teleport to your party members,
you can.
Only if you go to town and click their portal.
That's not that bad.
Right? But you can't like just do it like we're used to in D3 doing it. And I don't know if I like or dislike that. Was my point. Like at some points I'm like, this sucks. And then sometimes I'm like, that's all right. It kind of makes the game feel more open, right? Like I have to go travel to this guy. I can't just cheat the system. So
one more thing I wanted to say about skills though is so the wizard enchantment system, like they should just give wizards something else and then give every class that system. 100%.
Yeah, and the thing, that's the one time where I was like, ooh, maybe try this. Ooh, maybe try that. Ooh, maybe try this. None of them really felt like, oh my God, this is amazing. But there were a couple that I was like, well, this one I like, and this one I like too. I'm not really sure which one I want. Let me try that. So that was an okay choice. I hope they expanded a little bit more. The barb system was kind of weird too. Did you see that one where you got to like? It seemed like you got that right out of the gate because that was the level
you couldn't
weapon leveling one, right?
Yeah, you couldn't technically,
but it wouldn't
the barb
give
thing.
You the bonus. It just the skill to level it up. Yeah, that was like interesting. I think it's kind of cool. The classes were all different.
Yeah, again, I think it's good that the classes are all different, but give sorcerer something else and just give everybody the enchantment system because that's like again, it's not like wow, this is mind blowing and so innovative, but it's like at least one more layer you could add to all the classes. That's like seemingly pretty easy because it's really just a passive. You're just unlocking 2 passives basically.
Yeah.
But
and some of the powers were okay. None of them were game changing, but they were okay. Like one that I played with for a little bit was every 300 mana you got an extra Hydra, like a 5-headed Hydra. So I could have 3 Hydras out at one time. On a boss, that was pretty nasty. But in just casual running through a dungeon, it was pretty unimportant because it would oftentimes spawn when I didn't need it, right? So then I switched to like, the meteor like blows stuff up. The downside to that was that you had to have that skill unlocked in order to enchant the power, which maybe could be viewed as a positive, right? But so I'm like, the meteor one's pretty powerful, or not the meteor, the fireball one's kind of cool for just blowing up trash mobs, but I don't have any points invested in fireball. So now it's like, do I find a piece of gear with a +1 fireball, or do I waste a skill point? Like, how do you put, what's the play?
Yeah.
So it might be a cool thing to let you enchant skills that maybe you haven't learned, but that could be broken too. I don't know.
Who knows?
Yep.
But
the combo point system for a rogue was just like a rogue from Diablo. So yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really use it because the second one was just so OP for bosses.
It's very broken for bosses.
Yeah.
The multi-shot build when I was clearing trash felt pretty good with the combos because you could do it at range. You could generate, and then just shoot off a big multi-shot and clear the screen. So like that was kind of fun to play with. But it seems, I don't know. It seems like unless you're going to switch at boss rooms, that you're just going to go with the single target output and just clear the rooms.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll have to see how builds end up playing out.
Indeed. But that's week 1. Obviously, we're both going to play this weekend, and there's going to be access to 2 classes. I don't know if Druid was Druid your number 1 most interested class?
No, Necro is, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think Necro hopefully will be amazing.
But Necro's my main, though, dude. So what do you?
I may have to double Necro. You can copy my builds.
That's cute.
Copy all my builds.
You'd be like, we're just mindlessly spamming skills.
I remember, I didn't design it. I remember playing Druid in BlizzCon 2019, and I was kind of unimpressed a little with it then. I'm sure it's changed a lot since then, but I do remember playing it at BlizzCon and being like, that's like your shape shifting is automatic. There was no thought into it.
It was definitely the most interesting of all the classes we got to play at BlizzCon because it was new.
Yeah, because it was new.
Yeah.
I don't think it was the best though. I think Sorceress was better back then too. Still in my playthroughs, it's hard. I'd have to go back and watch some VODs how I felt. Remembering now, I might be skewed because Sorceress was better this time around too. But I do remember the shape shifting was automatic, right? So if you chose a skill, or I think they had your bars already laid out. But if you chose a skill, it just shifted you. So one skill will turn you into a wolf.
Yeah.
The other one turns you into a bear.
Right.
And it was like, okay, maybe I'm just used to playing Druid and WoW, where it's like I have to manually shapeshift. And I kind of like that micromanagement. I felt it gave you a skill cap, right? Of like, oh, I'm shapeshifting and doing the things I need to do to maximize dips. So I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see what it plays like.
We shall. On paper, looking at the data mine stuff, like Poison Druid Werewolf looks pretty good. Looks pretty exciting. On paper, Necro stuff. We'll see. We'll see tomorrow. I'm not gonna speculate.
Somebody passed me the data mine stuff. It looked like it was like literal code that they took and copy pasted the code into a.
Well, the skills are pretty available out there on
something. So I looked at it for a little bit, but I was having to decipher it a little more than I wanted to, and I was working at the same time. So I didn't go through the whole list to see. I was just like, oh, this is cool. They added this and they added that.
Yeah. One of the things
I haven't seen the whole list yet.
With Necro, one of the things I was kind of disappointed on right out of the box looking at the skills is we don't have poison, but we do have like shadow damage over time. But poison's just gone for Necro. So I thought that was kind of weird. But
it is kind of weird.
We'll see tomorrow. Yeah. We have several builds in mind already. We've taken a deep dive offline, and we'll see.
Coolness.
On paper, also like the sacrifice minion, I don't think any of them look like they're going to be worth it. So I haven't looked at the skills. I was looking at legendary powers is what I was thinking of a second ago. I looked at those too. Skills.
Yeah. Is there going to be any viability to a minion build where the minions are just running around smashing face?
Yeah.
Is that even a thing? I don't even know what skills we're going to have.
Yeah.
Now, not like a Rothma mage that you have to continue.
No, there's no minions. There's no minions you cast and they like. It's not. There's no minions like the Hydra. They're all like perma.
They're perma minions.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's the play style that I've personally liked from Necro. I think you're on the other side of the fence where you don't like the perma minions, right?
Yeah, I don't like minions, period, which is weird. But I know I'm in the minority on that.
Yep, I've always liked that. And D4 or D3, I don't think ever did a good job of giving you a minion build where they just stayed. Like, because the mages disappeared, the golems just always kind of sucked, and they blew themselves up for damage. Well, then he's gone, right? So.
And then there's finally an Army of the Dead build, but it wasn't really the Army of the Dead doing any of the damage. It was just there.
Yeah. So I'm excited. Hopefully they do they do a nice minion build for Necro. I think that could be a lot of fun. Yeah. So I think that's it for the D4 talks. Yeah. You want to hit some Lost Ark news?
Yeah. Let's exit this real quick. Lost Ark posted an update. This is pretty long ago, but we didn't touch on it last podcast because there's just so much to cover already. But the artist class, I think it's coming this month if it hasn't come out already. So I think we touched on some of the gameplay of that in past podcasts. But of course, every class I've ever played, even though this looks so stupid.
Yeah, her armor looks pretty
and
covering
she's using
on her
a paintbrush
legs
as a fucking weapon. I'm sure it's actually really fun to play because it's fucking Lost Ark.
Yeah.
New Guardian raid and Legion raid in April. And then this other last thing that I thought was pretty interesting. They're doing like a big faction PvP event. So you like pick, Horde or Alliance and you just go at it, which looks kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But that's really
Lost Ark. Like we say it so much, their combat's so good. I think that's why there's such a market for something like Diablo to steal it, because like we're talking about, that painter looks so stupid, right? Yeah. If you go look at it, it's just so dumb. But I bet it's fun as hell to play. Yep. That's the part, right? So if you took that fun as hell to play and actually put it in something that looked cool and was the genre that we want, that I think that's more in line with Western fantasy games, I think it would just slay. There's so much potential.
Concur.
Maybe POE can steal some of it.
Yeah, hopefully.
Just a little bit.
God damn, POE,
dude,
merged with Lost Ark.
I might actually have to start playing POE at that point.
If you don't. And then what was the last thing? Oh yeah, so POE next Thursday is their big thing. So obviously, I think we should do another pod at least next week because we're gonna have to talk about.
Yeah, I think so too.
Druid
I think next
Necro.
Thursday to talk about the two classes, right?
And then there's gonna be a big, it's POE's big thing, so we'll do that thing.
Is that it's Thursday at 2? Okay,
yeah.
so you'll be able to hit that later too.
And where you fall
cool.
asleep.
So we can talk about D4 and then I'll take a nap.
Yeah,
we talk about POE. I like it. I like it. I like it. Back to the old format, man.
Yep. The good old days in season 2
Yep.
now, though. So
Let's talk about some Fluff hates PChild loves.
yeah, let's do it. Gosh, I have so many.
What are you hating? What are you hating on this week?
This week it's weird because we're no longer in a state. So I've been looking at my stream PC is no longer video editing efficiently. I think I am like slowly killing my processor, obviously, for all these years of leaving the computer on and streaming so much, and doing OBS, software PC rendering. It's very taxing. So yeah, lately video editing has been a huge pain in the ass. Like if for every 3 seconds that I can edit, I have to wait like 3 seconds for things to render, and it's just like awful. And so I've been looking at like, well, maybe I'll
talk about in real time. Your real time editing.
Yeah,
your graphics card has a lot to do with that.
Oh yeah, and I've only got a 1080 Ti in the stream PC. But I don't know. I feel like there's something more sinister happening.
Okay.
But yeah, and so that's not efficient or great, and it's to make my feedback video on Diablo 4. I mean, it was probably a 1 hour edit that took like 3-4 hours just because I was waiting like every fucking 3 frames. I'm so frustrated. Anyways, and so I've been looking at building PC, and it's like now PC or CPUs are super available, GPUs super available. Nothing's a problem, but fucking cases.
Can't get a case now?
Can't get a case.
Well, just put it in the same case. Just got the one you have.
No, I need like way better cooling than my current case can provide. And all the ones that have like good airflow, good thermal ratings, like they're fucking just impossible to find. Which is I just
buy that shit.
What year is this?
I'm with you. I was actually piecing together a new PC myself recently. So I can feel you. I don't remember the case constraints, but I didn't get that far. I parted everything but the case, I think. And then I saw the number, because of course it's all like the best of the best, right? And so I saw the number and I was like, ooh. And then my wife is remodeling. We're actually building a 3rd bathroom in our basement. So she just spent a lot of monies on that. And I'm like, hey, I think I might buy this PC. And she's like, ooh. I mean, she kind of was like, I'm not saying no, but and I was like, all right, I'll wait. So
yeah.
But yeah, I feel you. It's expensive.
Yeah. So you like several of them, like the NZXT H9, can't find it anywhere. The Leon Lee, like 011, Dynamic Evo, can't find it fucking anywhere.
There was this case that I saw that was open. This thing was so badass. It was like $1,000. It was stupidly overpriced. But it was you mounted it's basically you built your PC like on like a board, right? And then it had some poles that extended and a plexiglass shield that shielded it, but then the top and sides were all open. Yeah. But you could wall mount it if you wanted to. So you could like hang it like a portrait on the wall and then just run the cables down. It looked really dope. Like the setups I saw where the guys actually used it, like some professional installers did it. I was like, damn, that's ridiculously cool.
I am in love with this new design that's happened. So there's a new design. It's not really new. It's probably like a year old at this point. But they put the power supplies. They make the cases thicker, and they put the power supplies like in the back, so they're not even like viewable in the case.
Yeah, it's in its own compartment.
And then that opens up the bottom for intakes. So you got intakes on the bottom, intakes in the front, intakes on the like backside, intakes or outtakes on the top and the back. Like it's fucking great airflow, like, which is great because I have a 3080 Ti, and I mean, I think it's hot and it's all airflow. And I'm not wanting to buy like a 4090 thermal, like liquid.
You're not telling me anything new.
Right,
my 3090 is like turning a hairdryer on and just leaving a hairdryer running in my room. It's like, I'm not, and people think I'm joking when I say that. I am dead ass serious. It is literally like a hairdryer blowing hot air out. It is so crazy. But so hit me up if you have questions or something. I've built a few nice Fluent systems, so got you.
I mean, I built like 50 fucking computers in my lifetime as well.
Yeah, I feel you.
What's your loves?
I'm gonna go to the loves. I did. So my daughter has been playing. My daughter is into indie games. She's kind of got. I don't know where she got this from, but she's kind of anti AAA titles, more into indie titles.
Okay, so Diablo 4
didn't get it from me. Yeah, didn't get it from me because I'm kind of the opposite, right? But She's been playing some little indie game, and she's been asking me to play it, and I go play with her because I'm her dad, and I have I'm obligated to do it.
Entertain a little shit.
Yeah, but I don't really enjoy it too much.
Okay.
Right?
What's the format of the game? Can you talk about?
It's called Rain World. You guys can look it up if you want. It's a side scroller, like kind of survival-ish style game. I don't even know how to describe it. And she's really good at it. And we play the game. And so after this, I'm like, okay, she clearly wants to play games with me. I got to find this middle ground of something that I can enjoy and she can enjoy. Yeah, that's the game. So, and like, you're like this little raccoon thing trying to stay alive. If you're listening, without video, Fluff's got a game pulled up.
No shot I'm playing this.
Yeah. And so I'm like, I got to find something that's like more in line. So I do some research. I'm like, okay, it can't be like a AAA title because she's, too cool for school for that. So I'm like, maybe Stardew Valley, maybe Terraria. I'm like, those are my first two options. Let me run those past her. And of course she knew what they were. And she's like, yeah, I don't know. But I don't think you would like it. And so I'm like, well, what about Valheim? I'm like, Valheim's like a survival style game, but you can also like Minecraft and make buildings and stuff. And maybe she'll get into that. And it is kind of, I think it is actually considered an indie game, even though it's pretty big, in popularity. So I show her a trailer for Valheim and she's like, yeah, that looks okay. And I'm like, all right, let's try it. So last night we fired up Valheim and we ended up playing for like 3.5 hours on the first session. God damn, that game is good. Like people said it's good. People have told me it's good. So I already knew like, okay, this is probably going to be a good game. I had a great time. And so the problem that I have is I had a lot of fun and she's like, okay, I think I'm done for a little while. And I'm like, what? No, let's keep going. You know what I mean? Like I want to keep grinding it. So yeah, man, I'm having a good time. We played like 3 hours yesterday. We played like maybe 3 hours today. And it was a good time. I've been enjoying my experience so far. Nothing new. I'm sure most of the people here have either heard of it or played it, but at this moment, it's a good time.
Okay.
So, it's my loves.
Hell yeah.
Let's jump into some Twitter questions.
Do it. If you guys want to ask Twitter, do your thing, do your speech.
Oh yeah. If you guys want to ask questions to the podcast, you can tweet at Lord__Fluffy at ThaPChild, or my preferred place is in our Discords. The first question comes from Coda. Coda says, if you had to make a prediction based on what you've seen of D4 and POE 2, which do you think is going to be a better game? I already knew. I knew you were going to say that, man.
Like, not even a fucking question, dude. Not even a question.
So I don't know, man. If you can't really put your finger on what makes POE 2 not feel as good as it should feel and look as
you
good
haven't
as
even played it.
I don't know, POE 1, sorry.
Okay,
POE 1.
there it is.
I didn't mean to. POE 1. So like, even like graphically, it's come a long ways. It's not a bad looking game.
POE 2 looks great.
No, POE 1.
Okay,
I'm talking about 1 right now.
Okay.
POE 1 has come such a long ways from when, it actually looks decent. It looks pretty good. But it still just feels weird. It just like something feels off. It looks off. It just doesn't have something. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
If POE 2 can get that it factor back, like it just doesn't have that it factor. I don't even know what it is. It just doesn't have it in POE 1. Then POE 2 is going to have crazy depth. I don't know how they can make it work like more deep than POE 1. I'm sure they'll find a way, right?
Well, it is POE 1. That's the thing.
No, POE 2.
Yeah, but it is POE 1. It's the same fucking game.
But they're changing stuff. They're changing the way this shit works, right?
It's the same game.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
And that's why I was able to answer that question so fast. It's like, oh, well, which one will be a better game? POE, because it's the same game.
Yeah, but the same game. So POE 1's better than D4 now too then?
Yes.
So okay, so hold on. This is a great conversation to have. All right, D4 comes out in 3 months,
Yeah.
right? You're gonna play D4, and then you're gonna at the end you're gonna be like, yeah, PoE's a better game. I'm gonna switch back to PoE.
D4 comes out,
Yes.
and then what? What's the question?
You're gonna play D4,
Yeah.
get to max level, and then say, but PoE 1's a better game. I'm going back to PoE.
Well, I don't think that will be like. Obviously, I'll min max the shit out of D4, and if I feel like I've hit a wall in Diablo 4, yeah, I'll go back and play PoE.
You just said it. PoE is a better game.
It is, but it's a new title. Like, it's not even fair.
Okay.
It's not like if PoE, a new PoE season came out and Diablo 4 came out the same day, like there's no shot I would go play the PoE season. It's
All right,
Diablo
hold
4.
on. Stop. Okay, stop. Hold on. Season 1 of D4 drops the same day that PoE 1 season whatever drops. You're going to play PoE over D4?
No, I just said no.
Oh, I thought you said yes.
No.
I thought you switched that. Okay. Maybe I'm mishearing stuff.
But
okay, good.
Season 1 of Diablo 4 launches the same day PoE 2. I'm playing PoE 2.
Are you?
Yeah. Because it's the new one. But
Because you've played the beta of D4, so that makes it the newer one?
no, I'm saying Season 1 in Diablo 4.
No. D4 and PoE 2 both drop at the same time. PoE comes out with an announcement this Thursday, and they say, yo, Blizzard, you thought that shit was funny. We're dropping it the same day. Or let's just say like a day, same day. Which one are you playing?
I mean, I've put too much of my streaming career, I think, on Diablo to not
No,
go
we're not
Diablo
talking
first.
about Fluff the streamer. We're talking about what do you want to play in your heart, Fluff?
In my
Who
heart,
do you love?
PoE 2.
There it is.
It's a guaranteed better game than Diablo 4 as it stands right now. It's not even a question in my mind. I'm excited for Diablo 4. I think what I saw in this last beta is like, okay, we're taking steps in the right direction, but it's a fucking I don't even know what the comparison I want to make here, but it's like the complexity level is like if you're playing Hello Kitty Island Adventures versus
Oh my god. You just compared D4 to Hello Kitty Island Adventures? Okay.
it's
All right.
just the layers are just not there that I would
Listen,
want in the game I play all the time.
I have to agree with you as much as it hurts me. I am more excited for PoE at the moment than D4 2 after playing the beta. I think the beta confirmed how I felt. I was hoping I was wrong this whole time. And I don't think D4 is going to be a bad game. I just don't think D4 is going to be the game. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I want D4 to be the game. Like, this is the fucking game. And it's not. I don't think it's going to be the game. I think it's going to be a game, a good game, but not the game, you know?
I think what I will say is, I don't know that I'm not endorsing Diablo 4 as the successor I would hope for in a Diablo game in its current form by any means. However, as we've said many times in this podcast, I think what we have as a base game is infinitely better than we had as D3. So now it's just, to me, it's a matter of what does the first content patch look like? And if the first content patch looks like a Diablo 3 content patch, then we're fucking dead in the water. And Diablo 4 is not going to be a good game in the long run. But it's just a matter of what we're going to see from them. And I'm very curious.
Yep. Yeah, we'll see. We'll have to see what we get. That's the thing. And I think it also depends on how fast they can react to community feedback too.
Yeah.
You know? If they get very strong community feedback leaning one way or another, does it take them 3 months to react to that? Does it take them a year to react to that? You know, if their reaction time is notoriously slow, then that's going to kill the game as well. But if they can react quickly and they've designed an infrastructure that supports quick change in the game, that could be huge for them, because I do think they have a good shell to start with. I agree with what you said about them this being the best shell of a game that they've started with. They're going to launch with the
best shell of Diablo we've ever had.
The best shell we've ever had, and they can continue to make it good. Diablo, the first, I mean, you can sit there and just talk. I think every Diablo really hasn't been defined until its expansion came out. Like, D3 wasn't great until Reaper. It was Lords of Destruction for D2. And I think the same thing for D1. To be honest, I don't know much about D1. That was way before my time. So, but yeah, I think if they have to produce on these seasons though, man. Like that's the scary part. Or the end game that they've released to us, I don't think there's end game that we don't know about.
I agree.
Because if it would have been leaked. Like it somehow, some way by this point in time, it would have been leaked. It hasn't. So I think the end game content we're getting is what we know about, and I don't think any of that is super sustainable for more than a month or two. So the first couple seasons, I think, have to really have some appeal to play. Yeah, there has to be something that's like, oh, that's cool. Let's go do this thing. Speaking of PoE 2, you think they're going to drop some news Thursday? They've seemed like, to be fair, I don't keep my ear to the PoE news boards, but I don't remember seeing anything recently on PoE 2. It seems like it's been a while since I've heard any updates. And with all this D4 hype, I wonder if they're going to try to steal a little bit of the thunder and release some PoE 2 news.
Well, we already know. I doubt it because ExileCon's in July. It's the end of July.
Okay.
So I don't think that we'll get like morsels because that's just like less stuff that they can reveal at ExileCon. And you fly around the fucking world.
You want people to go to that. Yeah.
Right. Which I honestly was like, I was so on the fence for such a long time about going to this thing because I did have a really good time at ExileCon. I do really, really like the PoE streaming community as well. They're a fun group of guys, but it's in July, which is winter. Like, I don't understand that decision at all. I don't want to go to fucking New Zealand in winter. And I don't want to go back really to any country that I've already been to. So it was just like, those two things just comboed. And I'm not going to go, but I would love to go. But anyways, yeah, I think we're going to see all the PoE 2 stuff, obviously, at ExileCon. So I don't think we're going to see any more like sneak peeks, even though, timing would be dope, interesting, right?
Yeah. All right, let me jump on to the next question. The next question comes from Akers. He says, how do you feel about Lilith as the bad guy? There's a second part to this, but let's answer that first.
Okay.
So I tried really hard to listen to the story on my first playthrough.
Okay.
I made it to about level 5, and then I started skipping shit because I couldn't. Level 5's a lot for me. I feel I'm interested in the story, but like all the little dialogue felt so slow, and I really wanted to just get in and feel stuff, so I skipped it. I'm sure someday I'll level a character after it's launched and we've leveled 2 or 3 tunes that I'll actually listen to dialogue and try to get more of the story soaked in. But I will say that the overall story, you can kind of get a feel for it. And I do think that Lilith looked cool, man. Like cutscenes, man, she looked badass. So, personally, I think this is a really awesome villain. I think it's really cool to see some names that we're familiar with from D3 in there.
Rathma and Arias.
And Arias and Rathma. And then you have Lilith is kind of new. I didn't know much about her until the D4 stuff dropped, right? Yeah. But she looks badass. She looks cool. So I like her as a bad guy.
I like her as a bad guy as well. I hope Blizzard doesn't like blow their load, and we've alluded to this on. I really hate repeating ourselves, but that just drives the point home is that, I think we both hope that ultimately this is all going to lead up to some, Diablo being the biggest bad guy, right? But we hope it's just kind of like whispers of him until we're finally done with Diablo, and then like we finally see him as a boss. So I hope we don't fight Lilith anytime soon.
So Destiny, I think, did a really cool thing with Destiny, the Forsaken King. Was it Forsaken King? I don't remember the name of the expansion. But they had this thing where I'm afraid you're going to get to the end of the campaign and kill Lilith, right? I don't like that. She's so then anything you do after that well, she wasn't the bad boss. This guy was better than her anyways, right? I think you can have the campaign and square off with Lilith, and potentially you get your ass kicked and then you have to go reset, or maybe you beat her back and she has to go run and get away from that battle with, escape with her life. But I want to see, and Destiny did this with the Taken King, is you actually fought Oryx at the end and you beat him up, and then he got away and escaped. And then the final raid of that expansion was you killing Oryx in the raid, right? So they set it up and they could build more story onto that after the campaign. So I really hope that Lilith isn't like at the end of the campaign, we've all destroyed Lilith and we're farming Lilith for drops and that's cool. Like, no, I want her to be the end bad guy of D4, with the exception of Diablo. If they want to somehow get Diablo back, as the final boss somehow, some way, but Lilith better be second in
years
command.
from now.
Yeah. Lilith, you better have just killed Lilith right before they release him, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the game's life.
Yeah.
So,
and
I think she's cool.
I'm hoping, but just based on what we kind of saw from like the 4 cutscenes that happened in the beta, it feels like they're alluding to like Anarius is going to be kind of.
That's what he seemed like a kind of an ass, didn't he?
He's
like,
a dickhead, and he's like obsessed with like getting back in the heaven. So I think there's obviously plot points there, and maybe he'll
trying
be
to make
first
Lilith
boss.
seem as like they want you to like her a little bit, even too, with some of the scenes. Like she's getting the key from her dead son, and you're like, oh damn, I feel for you. But there's a second part to this question, and it says, "And would you knock boots?"
With Lilith?
Yes. You had the opportunity. She's like, "What's up, Fluff? Would you take the risk?"
What's the risk?
It's Lilith. What do you mean? What's the risk? Death? I mean, like,
well, if it's just like
worse than death, is there worse? Like, I don't know.
What? So the option is not bone Lilith and live, and bone Lilith maybe die. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I guess.
Obviously not.
I mean, you never know, man. That could be like game changing. You know what I'm saying? That's the question. Would you knock boots? So the answer is no for you?
If it's a risk of death. If there's not a risk of death, I'm like, well, I'll think about it. I don't know if I could get over like the weird horn thing, but
I mean, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's Lilith. Why not? You gotta do it. You gotta do what you gotta do. Heck says, does it bother you that Blizzard is selling 4 days of early access for $20?
Does it bother me? Yes. Is it something we're gonna see from like every game company going forward? Yes.
Yeah. Does it bother me? Absolutely. Because I'm still gonna buy it. That's why it bothers me the most. Is because I'm gonna do it. I'm still gonna do it, and it pisses me off. Is it $20? Is it a $20 hike to get those 4 days?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's dirty, man. That's super dirty. Would I have bought the deluxe edition without those 4 days? Absolutely not. Am I going to spend $20 extra to get 4 days of Diablo 4 access? Yep.
Yeah.
Feels bad. Am I mad at Blizzard for doing it? No, they're a company. They're trying to make money.
Doubly clever, because the game, for the people that don't spend the extra bucks, it launches on Tuesday. For everybody else, it launches on Friday. So it's like the whole weekend.
They put so much into this get banged. Like it's super disgusting the more you think about it. If you don't buy, okay, let's say you and I were homies, we're not streamers, we're just random Joes, we work together, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, hey Fluff, man, you gonna play Diablo 4? Oh, I've been thinking about it. You gonna play? Yeah, I'm gonna play. Cool. Yo, I bought the digital deluxe edition, man. Friday night when we get off work, I'm gonna throw down. And you're like, yeah, I was gonna play too. I think I'm gonna buy the normal one. Ah, shit. Well, I'll already be out leveled by the time you get it, so I guess we're not playing together.
Well, it's open world at scale, so we don't have to worry about that.
And you're gonna be like, oh man, damn, it's only $20. I guess I can buy it too. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna pressure more people into buying the game that way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So get it for the weekend, spending $20. I don't know, man. It's scumbaggy. Every company's going to do this. And like Blizzard rips off every company and does their idea better, Blizzard took the early access to the next level by adding it to the weekend and giving it 4 days instead of 2 days.
Big brain.
You know what I mean?
It's also scummy.
Like Blizzard is king at stealing other people's shit and making it better. They're like, we can get more money if we do it over the weekend. So I don't know. Smarty Fact says, what was your favorite toy as a kid? I mean,
I got it.
You know your favorite
I already
toy?
know it.
Damn, that was quick.
Bro.
Okay.
Easily, hands down, top tier, S tier of childhood toys. Play School, Pipeworks.
What the hell is that?
Exactly. Bro, this was shit. I'm going to pull this up.
What? Oh my God.
Play School fucking Pipeworks.
Hold on, I'm scared. Googling Pipeworks.
You would like build shit. So they came in like these tubes and they came in like brackets. And
It's
you
like
could
shitty
like
Tinker Toys.
you could fucking make a car. You can make like a fort. You can make like
I might have had
literally
that.
anything.
That looks so familiar. I might have actually had that. Yeah.
And you make
with the
these like crazy things you could climb on.
No. 100% I had that. I just didn't know what it's called. Yeah. We had that. You know what? I had forgotten about that. I never would have thought about that the rest of my life if you didn't just bring that up. But
Literally
I totally had those.
Best in slot.
Because I broke my T brackets all the time. Did you ever break your T brackets?
Yeah, these. All the time.
It broke the shit out of those things, man. All the time. That's so funny, dude. Man. Favorite toy. I mean, I'm gonna exclude like Super Nintendo and stuff like that because that was a little older when those came out.
Yeah, it's not a toy.
I remember going.
Lifestyle.
I remember going hammy on the what was the first Zelda game on SNES.
We're gonna ruling out games. We're not even gonna get into
This
this.
is so good. I had a bow and arrow. Does that count? Way too young. I don't know what.
You think you shoot your brother or something with that?
I did. Listen, I don't know what my mom was thinking. Man. She gave me and my brother bows and arrows at like
only America.
Like that's like 7, 6, 7, like whatever it was. It was way too young and unsupervised at that. Like maybe she wanted us to kill ourselves. I don't know what was going on. But we shot everything, man. I if you name it, and I tried to shoot an arrow through it, including my brother. So yeah, shot him in the hand. So there's a whole story behind that. I'll tell someday when we do story time.
I feel like we've told that one. I knew about it. I don't know.
Yeah, if I told on the pod or maybe
maybe IRL. I don't know.
Maybe IRL. I don't know. No Suit says, "How do you feel about the TikTok ban?" I know very little about this. Apparently there was a hearing today. This is all, I literally know hardly anything. There was a hearing today about banning TikTok because it's making it safe for the kids because they're stealing our info. I don't even know. I honestly don't know much about it. So I'm just going to go under the assumption that they want to ban TikTok. And how do I feel about it? They're not going to ban TikTok. There's too many people that use it and love it, and the outrage would be insane. And there's
like they're talking about banning it in the U.S.
I guess I don't really know. So, but my opinion is they won't.
Yeah,
like,
there's no
everybody.
shot.
Everybody
you can't take anything away from Americans. Are you kidding me?
You can't. Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? Like, you're gonna outlaw something on the internet? There's so many.
Absolutely crazy though. If you ever go into the like terms of service of TikTok and signing up for TikTok, like they take literally everything and you agree to it. It's insane.
Yeah. It's nutty. I didn't use it for the longest time, but eventually I was like, my wife would be like, check this out, check that out, check this out.
Yeah,
And I'd be like,
to me,
"Look
it's
at your phone."
crazy. I have friends that are literally like, "Oh, I can't believe you have like a smart home. It's like listen to all your shit," and then they fucking share TikToks with
they
me.
get
I'm
on
like, "You
TikTok."
fucking idiot! Like TikTok
Right, you know?
is so much worse."
Yeah.
Oh my god. Anyway.
Yeah. So, and I'm reading chat a little to see if there's, they have updates because I don't know much about it. Like banning it in government-owned phones. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. You could ban it in schools, on school devices. You could ban it on any work device, right? That's a company-owned product. You have to abide by their company internet policies. And that makes total sense. But on a personal device, no way. There's no way that they could ban it. That's like them telling you what movies you can and can't watch too, or what data you want to give away. Like, listen, maybe they could make it to where TikTok has to disclose as a company. They have to be more transparent with the users on what information they're stealing or taking voluntarily, whatever you want to call it. But they can't. I don't think they could get away with banning it.
Not in the US.
So,
no way.
But yeah, I do have friends that have that same argument. Like, you have a smart home? Like, yes. You know why? Because I can do anything in my house I want without moving. I can just tell it to do it.
Convenience.
Yeah, and it's like, and they're like, "Oh man, they're listening to your conversations." I'm like, "What conversations? What conversations are you having that you care if anybody heard, anyways?" You know what I'm like, first off, maybe. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and deny, like, maybe, but like, so okay, so they know like what I'm having for dinner tonight, or they know my wife and I are arguing, or when we're making some friendship, like.
They know who I'm hooking up with, what conversations
care.
we're having.
Like,
yeah.
I don't care.
I don't give a shit.
They're like, they're sitting there tapping phones or Fluff's Eliza, and they're like, "Oh my God, yo, did you see the lies he's telling this girl?" Like, like who yeah, no, I don't ever say this to anybody, but you're the one.
You're
You know
the
what I'm
one,
saying?
baby.
Like,
Yeah, shut
who
up.
cares, right? So I don't care. But yeah, I do have friends that are like, "No, I'm not getting it because they're going to listen to me." I'm like, "Well, maybe you're a drug dealer and I just don't know. I don't know."
Yeah.
So, last question comes from Captain Beans. Captain Beans said, "At what point in your life did you stop pressing the snooze button?"
I've never. I still hit it.
Oh, you still snooze?
Yeah.
Ooh, never. That's crazy. In high school, man, I started setting my alarm at the last possible second I could sleep till to get up, because snooze just wakes you up and makes you have shitty sleep, which then makes you tired.
Yeah, I
Like,
only do
you're-
like once. It's for like 10
No,
minutes.
there's no way, because that's like, was it 10-minute snooze, 5-minute snooze?
10. It's 9.
That's 10
For some reason, that's like the default on an
yeah.
iPhone. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's 9. You're right. That's 9 more minutes you could have slept, and now you just lost 9 minutes of good sleep.
But it's not like
because-
I'm usually when I hit snooze, I'm awake and I'm like lay in bed and like maybe I'm on my phone or something like that. I'm not really like sitting there trying to sleep usually.
Yeah, I don't think I have, as long as I can remember. It's like, how long does it take me to get ready? 12 minutes. Then okay, I'm setting my timer at 12 minutes. Like I always set weird times. Like most people are like, "Yo, set an alarm for 8 a.m. or 7:30." I'm like, I set my alarm for 7:44. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's because like that's the exact amount of time I need to get ready. So I do it.
That's too risky for me because I mean, I think you're probably the same, but I don't really sleep that much. And sometimes I'll deprive myself of sleep like so hard that I will sleep through an alarm. It's happened before.
I know that if I hit snooze, or if I don't get up the second it wakes me up, I'm done. Like if I pick the phone up and I stop it and I'm like, "Oh man, I got to get up soon." Then that's it. That's already too much. I'm like, I got to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm out. So when my alarm goes off, I usually sit up. I'm usually like, okay, I have to get up, or I'm back asleep. So yeah, it's nice. It just depends on this. The schedule's flexible now. It changes so much that I don't have the same, like, got to get up at 7 a.m. every day, type deal. So makes it easier. That's it, man. That's all the questions we had. Again, if you guys want to submit
Easy.
questions to the podcast, you can tweet them at the PChild at Lord __Fluffy. You can follow us on Twitch. We're both probably going to be streaming this weekend. Catch Fluff here. Catch me at twitch.tv/ThaPChild.
Yeah. I'm London_Fluffy, double those underscores on Twitter, and Lord of the Fluff on the Instagram, which is highly entertaining. If you haven't followed me, by the way, give it a shot. Anyways, until this weekend, I'm sure we'll be playing together. Probably knock out world bosses together like we did last time.
Yeah. Do we have a schedule for that already? Did they release it?
I think it's the same thing.
Same?
Yeah.
Same thing? Is it actually adjusted this time, or
I think it'll be back to the original because we lost an hour last time. Yeah.
So they fixed it this time, you think?
We'll see.
Yeah. We'll have to check on that. Yeah, definitely want to blast some world bosses and get some loot.
Yep.
And stuff.
Yep.
Do it.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.